That thing banging. That thing banging. You can't walk a mile in these Louboutins. Can't take her home tomorrow. No, she don't belong. All she needs is a dog. Getting this bone. Let me find out that thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. Let me find out that thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. Let me find out that thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. Let me find out that thing banging. Walking up the stairs, feel like I made it. Promiscuous woman, she in the dirtiest streets. You know what I'm saying? She doing the thing. That thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. You can't walk a mile in these Louboutins. Can't take her home tomorrow. No, she don't belong. All she needs is a dog. Getting this bone. Let me find out that thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. Let me find out that thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. Let me find out that thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. Let me find out that thing banging. Bang, 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 bang. Dirty slut bitch, anything goes. Promiscuous hoe, she out here in the dirty streets. I'm in the dirty streets. You know what I'm saying? She doing a thing. That thing banging. That thing banging. That dirty slut bitch, anything goes. Promiscuous hoe, she out here in the dirty streets. I mean the dirty streets. You know what I'm saying? She doing that thing. That thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. You can't walk a mile in these Louboutins. You can't take her home to mom. No one, she don't belong. All she need is a dog. Getting this bone. Let me find out that thing. That thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. Let me find out that thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. That thing banging. Let me find out that thing banging.
What is up, guys? What is up? Welcome to the Monday live stream. Welcome to the Monday live stream. Hope everyone's doing well. Happy Memorial Day for all my American brothers. Yeah. I have a video today that I wanted to check out. Just a interesting debate. I always by Andrew Wilson. I always love the guy. Great debater. So I always like to check him out. Interesting topic, right? Is toxic masculinity a problem? Now, my thing is like, I want to preface this. I don't believe there's toxic masculinity, right? I don't believe being a man, right? Traits of a man is toxic. I believe that there are terrible people out there, men or women, right? So let's say one of the supposed toxic traits of masculinity is violence. Well, everyone has the capability for violence, and everyone has enacted violence, right? Women have killed people, stabbed people, shot people. Women have done very violent things, right? To adults, to men, to other women, to even children. So are they exuding toxic masculinity? So you're just saying just plainly killing is toxic masculinity? So you equate anything bad to just men being bad instead of just people doing bad things, because anything you necessarily equate to toxic masculinity, anyone can exemplify that, man or woman, right? Even children can exemplify certain qualities that usually these feminists equate to masculinity, right? So I think we want to, particularly these feminists, want to put these terrible traits and say that's just it's men, right? Men have these bad traits, so it's toxic masculinity. So I think that's crazy and idiotic, but let's check out this debate.
Everyone. So in response to whether or not toxic masculinity is a problem, the answer may be to simply just embrace the concept of living in a matriarchy. Girls and women must be aggressive, tough, and stoic and seek domination. Just women and not men, because we don't want our men like this. We'll turn a blind eye to the fact that these traits, unharnessed, will wreak mental and social havoc on men and society as a whole. Suicide rates will climb among women, and there will be an uncanny connection made between their behaviors and the fact that they'll, by large, perpetrate most violent crimes. I think, though, it is just best that we ignore this fact and we'll just let women prioritize dominance and control of people, places, and things by all means necessary. In this matriarch, we can create workplaces dominated by women, where men follow the unwritten rule that women making inappropriate, unwanted, threatening, or better yet, violent advances towards men. They can do this and sometimes dangling promotions as a reward for putting up with it. They'll just have to suck it up and deal with the fact that this is the behavior they should come to expect if they're working in female-dominated spaces. Of course, years later, men may be compelled to create a movement against this. We can call it, I don't know, Me Too, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. Probably we'll do our level best to just trivialize it or downplay it as BS males' rights activism. Only men who submit to their wives are ideal and should be considered good, worthy, and marriageable. Unfortunately, this mentality has not picked up enough steam in the 21st century, so it is our duty, our priority as women, to recruit as many outspoken and fed up misandrists as possible and start demanding that the authority of women be recognized as the ultimate authority to our lost, wayward modern men.
How do you enforce your delusional take? How would you enforce it?
After all, they are lowly inferiors who need our guidance and should be treated as such.
It's like she's trying to equate this is like, oh, this is how men think. This is how men go about things. Absolutely ridiculous.
Let's start building momentum. Perhaps there is an Andrea Tate out there, maybe an Andrea Wilson, who can take up the cause online and start recruiting girls and boys, but especially girls, to embrace our agenda to instill a matriarchy where misandry is interchangeable with what it means to be a real woman. Obviously, what I just said is satire. I'm not a proponent of anything I just said, but could you imagine trying to normalize such toxic behavior? Well, you can brace.
See, your satire is just this is the thing, right? Yeah, I kind of get what she was trying to do. It was stupid. It was weak. It's like this is the problem where women just equate. They only see the negative, and they see the negative as just being men, right? It's like it's like you think that men automatically saw women as inferior. No, okay. Men saw women as different, not as inferior. Okay, men saw women as different. Now, some people may perceive that as inferior, but it's just different. It is a reality that women give birth. It is a reality that men have strength. That is a reality. That is a objectable fact, a fact of life. Okay. So when you are one, you give birth, i.e., you have weak states in life. And two, the other one is you have strength. Why would you not produce a society that kind of exemplifies that, objectable fact of life?
Yourself, because this has already been happening by way of the notorious byproduct of the patriarch called toxic masculinity. So, to define masculinity, that's a set of attributes, behaviors, and roles that are culturally associated with men.
Here's the thing where this whole patriarch thing is stupid, right? It's stupid because, in my opinion, it's a natural order of life. Because here's the thing, right? And there's very few animal societies, right? Animal societies that is a matriarch. The one thing that is a matriarch, right, that comes to mind is a hyenas. Hyenas. But why is it a matriarch? Because female hyenas have the strength. They have higher testosterone, I believe, right? They have higher testosterone than the males. So they have the strength. So it's not necessarily a matriarch. It's a strength based society. Okay, it's a power based society. I'm sorry, but that's the world. That's nature. Power rules absolute, right? Power rules absolutely. Some form of power, right? Some form of power rules absolutely.
And boys. So traditional masculinity norms, they ask for men to project items like strength, dominance, stoicism, independence, toughness, and being powerful. Toxic, of course, is causing death or serious debilitation, extremely harsh, malicious, or harmful. Put that together, we get toxic masculinity, which there are a lot of definitions online, but I kind of found one that sticks. Toxic masculinity refers to a collective of offensive, harmful beliefs, tendencies, and behaviors rooted in traditional male roles, but taken to an extreme. The simplest way that for me to explain it is basically where masculinity, which generally speaking is actually good, it's basically, as the saying goes, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. So the primary reason that it is a problem is because toxic masculinity is a problem is because it is socially destructive. And I'm going to elaborate on that over several points. First, I'll get into the economic impact. So there's a Manbox study in 2017 published in 2017 across the US, the UK, and Mexico. And it shed a light on not just the snowball effects of toxic masculinity, but the resulting costs. So these outcomes such as like traffic accidents, suicide.
Real Rain, how have you been, my brother? How have you been? I hope you've been well. What I love is the type of toxic masculinity she's talking about is what women overall want. We were talking about that, right? Here's the thing: where a lot of these traits, right? Women desire it, right? The manly man or what the tough men. Like how many times we've seen these serial killers, these murderers, these terrible ass men in society. They have no they have no dry spell of women, right? They have no problems with getting women, right? The Wade Wilsons, the Luigi Matti, whatever, the guy who killed the CEOs. God, another recent guy. I've done videos, right, on women literally wanting these men. So it's so toxic, yet women want it. But how you doing, my brother? How are you doing? Hope you're doing well.
Suicide, depression, violence, bullying, binge drinking. These are all linked to embracing harmful masculine stereotypes.
Bullying, women bully as well. Like, seriously. How is that a masculine thing to bully? It's a toxic trait. Toxic trait of human. This is the thing, right? This is the problem. Toxic traits of humans, women just equate that to men. Being a man, right? Being masculine doesn't mean you bully, okay? Being masculine doesn't mean you binge drink. What the hell is that? It's like that. What is idiotic viewpoint?
So these outcomes such as like traffic accidents, suicide.
How is traffic accidents masculinity equating, right? How do masculinity equate traffic accidents? Oh, really? You haven't getting my you know what? This is a thing where I think YouTube is shadow banning me. I think they're under me like a microscope for whatever reason, right? Or the algorithm or their robots, whatever, their AIs really targeting me, right? They're checking out my videos and I think they're doing that. But yeah, I miss you, my brother. Yeah, how's that? Absolutely idiotic.
Depression, violence, bullying, binge drinking. These are all linked to embracing harmful masculine stereotypes. The resulting sum total of economic costs of these three.
Nothing she said was male equivalent, right? Nothing. That's the idiocy. Women do it too. So women are exuding toxic masculinity.
Economies estimated at a minimum of $20.9 billion. So that's just money figures to keep in mind.
Evil Eddie, what is up, my brother?
Societal impact, starting with number one, it puts women.
And if that's a study, what a stupid study. What a stupid study. Really is. Women bully, women drink, and she said self-deletion. Women, right? Women attempt self-deletion at a higher rate than men. Women attempt self-deletion at a higher rate than men. Is that toxic masculinity?
In a box that's intended to keep us inferior, Men are supposed to be active, assertive, aggressive, tough, daring, and dominant. However, toxic masculinity does not recognize that women too can embody these traits, since women are meant to be
all traits that women desire. Assertive, right? Assertive, dominating. All traits women desire in a man. It's toxic, yet you desire it.
subjugated under this construct, and instead labels these kind of women like problematic or the dreaded modern woman. I'll go as far to mention that the National Center of Biotechnology Information actually published a study that linked toxic masculinity with the beliefs that of the inferior woman, and includes eschewing or devaluing anything that is considered feminine. So in essence, the first problem with toxic masculinity
Got 5 minutes left.
Intended to keep them inferior, and further maintains a position that women are inferior by teaching men to devalue what is seen as feminine traits like emotional vulnerability, compassion, or empathy. Societal impact.
No, it's not a problem that, women are teaching men that. Two, fine. I mean, teaching men to understand emotions even better, it's never a bad thing. The problem is, or teaching men to understand emotions is never a bad thing. The problem is, when men learn this, does it help them in life? Does it? Does it attract more women? Does it? Right? Does it? Men being more in touch with their emotions, does it attract the opposite gender? What results does it produce? That is a problem. This reminds me of the article, How Gym Culture Fused the Right-Wing Pipeline. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I think I've seen that article before. I haven't read it, but I think I've seen it before. It's ridiculous.
Number 2, life and satisfaction and health outcomes. There's a researchers from Boston College. They looked at 59 countries, and they measured what's called precarious manhood beliefs, abbreviated as PMB, which is basically the acts of having to constantly prove manhood to maintain social standing. And they looked at regions and countries and beliefs where they're deeply embedded in respective cultures. So countries in Latin America, the Middle East and North African countries, Sub-Saharan Africa, East Asian countries, and even countries in Eastern and Central Europe. And they found that these countries that had high instances of precarious manhood beliefs and gender equality, they had lower rates of national happiness. On the flip side, Nordic countries like Denmark, Finland, and Sweden, these societies actually reported having a higher level of satisfaction and better overall outcomes of men. And these, of course, are societies that focus on
Laughing Man, what is up, my brother? What is up?
Gender equality. Societal impact number 3, which is often discussed when talking about the effects of toxic masculinity, is a male suicide rate. Globally, men are twice as likely to die by suicide, and this has been linked to elements such as emotional expression, refusal to seek help for mental issues, because of course, as a toxic masculinity mandate states, it is that kind of stuff suggests weakness. Societal impact number 5, bullying. Instances of masculinity are.
I was funny, right? So one of the countries she mentioned, Sweden. High happiness. Okay, cool. I was, in my personal opinion, it's never easy to quantify happiness. Okay, it's never easy in my opinion. But one of the things where I want to say that can, right, in my opinion, help quantify it is marriage rates or birth rates, right? Where I believe marriages the creation of families is, in my opinion, the biggest indicator of a successful nation, a successful country, i.e. maybe even happiness, right? Sweden does not have a high marriage rate nor a high birth rate, right? Compared to historical levels or global levels. So I just think that, I mean, again, if for them to be so high, right, with happiness, what are the results it's producing? Now, I'm not saying that I agree, right? A lot of people do say that Sweden is a great, a great nation, great country, but what is the quantifiable, outcomes of it? That's what I would like to know, right? This so-called metric of happiness, I'm always skeptical of it.
Linked to either men.
And Real Rain said it too. In the 80s, Norway had a huge self-deletion issue, right? I mean, it's like, my thing is like, yes, a lot of these countries say they're highly happy, which is great. But what is it producing?
young boys who either reported being bullies or being victims of bullies, whether online or physical. Societal impact number 4, crime and violence. If men are not inherently violent, why do they engage in significantly more violence and crimes than women? There's actually a report, Masculine Norms and Violence, making the
Here's the thing, right? I want to say, why do men significantly in violent crimes? Men aren't, right? A select few men. This is my problem, right? A lot of women like to use a stat like, oh, I think 90% of violent crimes are committed by men. Okay, but it's not the same thing as 90% of men commit violent crimes. It's not the majority of men. I believe there's about 300,000 violent crimes a year. About that. We have 160 million men in the US alone. That's not even a drop in the bucket, right? That's less than 0.1% of the population of men. Right? And here's the thing, right? Studies have shown that actually violent crimes are decreasing over time. That is a true story, right? That's a fact that violent crime is actually decreasing. So with the supposed argument that, oh, men are so violent, well, literally, I'm just showing you. Literally, there are studies, there are data that's showing that violent crime is actually going down. So really, that literally debunks your thing. Very few men do violent crimes. Very few men. 2, violent crimes overall is going down. So again, weak statement.
Action that was reported in 2017 that literally connects male propensity to commit violence and criminal activity and connected with toxic masculinity. So to quote from the report, when men believe they are not.
I also want to say, okay, it's not toxic masculinity that men do violent crimes. It is the results of one, being not controlling your emotions. That's not a male thing, right? Not being able to control your emotion. 2, it's just sadly, it's men have there are spectrums, right? There's a spectrum where extremes. Men fall under extremes, right? Men fall under extremes. So men could be extremely violent or extremely passive. Not real. It's like a curve, right? So it's a different thing with when it comes to men. They're not very in the middle like that. While women, they're consistently in the middle. So yeah, men go to extremes. If you say that going to extremes is toxic masculinity, maybe, but it's like it's not necessarily toxic in nature. I think it's more nature, right? So,
or not perceived to be masculine enough, they may also use intimate partner violence as a way to compensate or conform with gendered expectations, to overcompensate or conform with gendered expectations.
Some studies have shown that 70% of one-way domestic violence is committed by women against men. One way. So no fighting back. I believe if we did this study nationwide, this is not a nationwide study, right? This is a small demographic, small pool. If we did this nationwide, we may see more cases of women. I'm not saying that the women would overshadow men. I'm just saying that we may see more cases of one-way domestic violence, or probably a lot of it are committed by women. So I wish we did a larger study of it, right? I really wish, just to see. Because I think there's a big thing where a lot of men just don't want to hit women, right? They don't want to, hurt women, so they will take it, okay? Or a lot of men are just grown up to not put their hands on a woman, so they will just take that violence, right? Take that verbal abuse, take that, that violence as well.
Research points to how violence linked with masculinity as a gender identity, and it links to how they're perceived that they have to engage in violent crime to be recognized as a real man. Or in some cases, they willingly choose to participate in destructive, violent, or criminal behavior for the same reasons. So
no one says to be a real man you had to do violent crime. Absolutely ridiculous. That's not a man thing, right? That's not a masculine thing.
See this play out in anywhere from gang culture, and when you even think about it, war, where military involvement, where you're bombing, killing people, military involvement and masculinity have always been intertwined. Finally, social impact, societal impact number 5, my favorite, the manosphere. This is where misogyny is conflated with masculinity.
Got a minute, 30 seconds left.
I repeat, misogyny is conflated with masculinity. This is sowing division. It disseminates hateful narratives and hostile attitudes about women. It touts women as being inferior, so owe men their submission. It's still kind of early to be collecting substantial data on the effects of the manosphere on society, but the United Nations Women notes that young men that are heavily engaged with like manosphere influencers, they have poor mental health.
They have poor mental health to begin with, right? This is absolutely ridiculous, okay? Young men have poor mental health to begin with. It's not the manosphere fault. It's not the manosphere fault. Like, I think it's really ridiculous, right? If you take out the manosphere, right, all men's content, you think magically, men's mental health will go up? No, I don't think so. Because the key problems, right, with men, young men, will still be there. Usually it's jobs, life, and women, right? It would still be there. Men's problems with women would not magically disappear, right? It's like you think that the manosphere being here, men's problem would, disappear or whatever. No. So manosphere does not produce men's problem, right? Manosphere addresses men's problem. That's it. Yeah, exactly. Talking about women's negative actions is not misogyny. It's not toxic masculinity to hold women accountable.
Outcomes. So when you look at alarming outcomes and economic impact, proven connection to criminal activity, negative health outcomes, male suicide rates and crime and violence, and the destructive manosphere, I'm at a loss as how Andrew or anyone else cannot see how toxic masculinity is a problem.
All right, start talking.
Yeah, thanks for coming out for this debate. I appreciate it. I took a bunch of notes as I went. So in conjunction with my opening statement, I'm going to respond to some of what you said as part of my opening statement. When progressives talk about toxic masculinity, they enjoy bringing up figures like Andrew Tate. I predicted that she would bring him up, and of course she did. And Myron Gaines and others like this in order to demonstrate that when masculinity moves into the harmful territory, that's when it becomes toxic, and toxic is bad. The negation, of course, is that the very things they reduce to masculine or feminine make very little sense. In fact, these people usually believe men can be women. That's how confused they are about the basic concepts of masculine and feminine. If you are a man and you hyper-focus on success and you don't give a shit about the elimination of all obstacles in your path, including the bitching of women, you're probably going to get all the material things that you want.
I agree. This is the thing where this is why a lot of men, right, say focus on your body, right? You focus on your body, your mentality, and your wealth. Focus on it. I think that's a big core of manosphere content. I believe a lot of men, a lot of their problems would be solved by going to a gym, doing some sports, doing martial arts, having a productive hobby that helps you, that helps your body, helps your mentality, maybe even help your wealth.
And that's basically true. The most successful men in America seem to show huge signs of supposed toxic masculinity, and they seem to be doing great. Elon Musk views women as basically just carriers for his seed and high-class prostitutes. He buys beautiful women's wombs, he fucks their brains out, and then they have his babies, and he doesn't give a shit. He just keeps on going every day with a whole flock of children all over the place, and he can just pay endless child support. It means nothing to him. Andrew Tate views male competition as the default and claims lazy and worthless do-nothing men are going to live an unfulfilled life, and men like him are essentially going to devour them. And he's basically correct about that too. Sean Connery says, sometimes you got to smack a bitch, and women swoon. Luigi Maggioni, a very famous assassin, has daily letters from women who want him to impregnate them. In fact,
Wade Wilson, who killed, I believe, 2 of his girlfriends, has a fan club of women. Yeah, that's awesome. Big bars. What is up, my brother?
show me a toxically masculine guy who isn't rolling in pussy and money. Show them to. Where are all of these men who are toxically masculine and showing it out in public, who don't seem to be banging hot women and have tons of cash? Where the fuck are they? Because I see a lot of women bitching a ton while also seeing them screwing the same class of man over and over and over again. It's always women and progressive men pointing out toxic masculinity, and yet in dating apps and market research over and over, women state their attraction is to the, quote, toxically masculine men. I'll give you an example of how this actually works. Let's pretend that we have Ted the accountant, and Ted's a swell fella. He's moderately handsome, and he's in decent shape, and he's super nice to everybody. Doesn't show any signs of toxic masculinity. Ted's a pinnacle of his community. Now let's compare him to Conan the Barbarian, whose opening line when asked what is best in life, Conan said, to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of their women. Now that's a...
He's literally showing, okay? Why do the nice guy finish last? When there is something, when women complain about toxic masculinity. Women aren't complaining that the nice guy is cheating on them. Women aren't complaining that the nice guy is lying to them. Women aren't complaining that the nice guy is abusing them. Women are complaining about the Pookies, the players, the bad boys, okay? The Chads, the Tyrones, right? These toxic masculine men. Women are complaining about those men lying, cheating, abusing them. So, what's the problem? I don't understand. All right, what's the problem? If toxic masculinity is such a problem, right? Supposed toxic masculinity is such a problem. Why do overwhelmingly women choose such toxic men? Athletes, in my opinion, not 100%, but they can exude supposed toxic masculinity. They're always rolling in money and pussy.
Pretty toxically masculine thing to say. But who do you think the woman's more likely to go home with? Ted, the nice, sweet accountant? Or Conan the Barbarian, who comes home and bends her over while he still has fresh blood from his enemies in his hair and beard? My guess is that most of them are going to be going home with Conan. I think they would opt every time for Mr. Toxic Masculinity. And I think women just like to cope. Now, you can appeal to my morality and you can say, that's not how a person should live their life. And yeah, I would agree. It's not. But the shit I believe is even more toxically masculine than that. It's even worse. I mean, God's a man from my view. He incarnated as a man. Church is a patriarchy. Men are the heads of households. Men have ultimate authority in society. Women shouldn't be involved in church authority or be pastors or priests. And so even if I devastate a red pillar or somebody like this on their material-based and hollow worldview, I'm still appealing to an even more toxically masculine worldview. In the end, though...
Brent, what is up, my brother? What is up, guys?
How can you say we need less of it when the toxically masculine men, Christian or not, seem to get all the cash, fame, and women they want? And the empathy, first, dipshits don't seem to get nothing. So what is the appeal here exactly from the egalitarian, agnostic, or atheistic lens? That's what I want to know, because all the evidence I can see goes right in the face of the idea toxic masculinity is bad, at least not bad for men. Maybe it's bad for women. maybe that's the case she wants to make, because that's not great for women. But ultimately, like, what are you going to do about it? Half the world owns half of the world's women, and they can't do shit about it. So it's not like you could do anything about it either. You can't do anything about the default setting of humanity. A bunch of the arguments that she made also don't make sense. She talks about all the negative outcomes that could possibly happen to humans, but she negates to talk about the primary outcome that we want, which is reproduction. And women don't reproduce with men. They don't want to fuck. So there has to be an attraction basis. If they don't want to fuck you, they're not going to have your babies. And it seems that women seem to gravitate towards men who have all these toxic masculine traits, have sex with them, and have their children. That's what happens over and over and over again. So I don't really know how it is that you're going to make the case that reproduction is not the primary edict, because it certainly seems to be, and everything that you listed seems to be only trivial or tangential in relationship to reproduction. I understand it was something of a clever tactic to bring up if it was a matriarchy, that if we instill these things from a matriarchal role, that men would consider them toxic. But I consider this to actually be a logical impossibility, because the standard is that women will always have to appeal to men to even have a matriarchy, because basically it's based around whether or not men decide to let them have one or not. There's very little women can do about that. She also ignores biological distinctions for how the sexes tend to divide themselves and organize themselves. And so even in the idea of matriarchal societies, there's no reason for me to believe that there would be a biological flip, or that for some reason women who tend to guide with empathy before they do any of these supposedly toxic masculine traits. You see, she didn't reject biology because she said men must be inherently violent. That's a biological claim. So if that's the case, I don't know why we get to just flip biology for matriarchy versus patriarchy. She points out a study, but I don't believe she read it, and I'm happy to dive into whether or not she did. But it doesn't actually give me enough information to make any determinations with anyway. She talks a lot about things which are shared traits between men and women. Both men and women have the capacity for violence. They have the capacity for empathy. They have all the capacity for these things. So usually these are divided down virtue lines. She also says that men in countries where you constantly have to prove your manhood, I would just argue that that's all countries. All countries, there is a social requirement for men to behave like men. Not so much from a governmental threshold, rather from a reproduction threshold. Women seem to desire men who are more masculine men and seem to not desire men who are not. She also points out, for instance, suicidality. She says it's higher in men. That's true, but men also have things that women don't. Like, for instance, they have PTSD, oftentimes from being in combat theaters for prolonged periods of time. Women don't have to deal with that.
The results of deletion is higher in men, right? Men do finality, right? Usually, while women, they take pills or whatever, which is, sometimes they're saved for it, right? So actually, women have higher self-deletion rates, right? Or self-deletion attempts. Women have higher self-deletion attempts than men do. Men just have higher, success stories, right?
Not generally, anyway. You also have an issue of male disposability, which often comes down to women lobbying for favorability in court systems and things like this, which has prevented men from being very successful, at least for 40 years, from being able to get custody of their families. That leads to a lot of this. And also, she forgets that the strongest correlate between homelessness and male suicidality is having a single mom.
Real Rain, he talked about it too, right? The single mom. We don't talk about how, surprisingly, all these toxic men come from single mother households, right? There's some studies that show you that a good chunk of men that come from prison, men that are in prison, come from single mother households. A good chunk of these, violent men come from single mother households. So maybe you actually need masculinity in these households, right, to produce more stable men. Instead of having these women, right? These women raise these men. I think what she's thinking and equating is that these men that can't control their emotions, these men that don't know how to regulate these emotions, these men that don't understand the world, maybe you actually need a masculine presence. Because being violent isn't necessarily a masculine thing, okay?
Couple things to kind of address here too. When she points out that men are twice as likely to die from suicide, she also points out that the happiest countries are the what did you say, Denmark and these countries, right? The Norwegian nations. Well, the problem there is that the suicide rates in those happiest nations were also extraordinarily high. It was much higher than average, even when they were assigned the happiest nations on planet Earth, which is ironic. She pointed out how happy they are at the same time their suicide rate.
Exactly. Like I said, right? These countries, I mean, you could double check. I didn't double check, but I mean, Real Rain said it, right? I think one of the countries, they have high self-deletion rates. They're so happy, yet they don't have high marriages, don't have high birth rates, and they have high self-deletion rates. So what are the factors? I mean, what are the results of this so-called high happiness? I don't necessarily, this is a thing where, that's why I said, these trying to figure out happiness is it's very diluted, in my opinion.
Is much higher. You also pointed out gang culture, which I think is funny because I don't think that that's much of a problem in most Scandinavian nations, where you just said that they're the happiest. I would equate a lot of that to the fact that they're homogenous. You also point out manosphere misogyny, but that's just not using the term correctly. Misogyny itself means hatred for women. I think you need to demonstrate the manosphere hates women. Otherwise, you're using your own proprietary definition of misogyny, which seems very much like something a misandrist would do. So I'm just pointing all of these things out, and I'd like to dive into each of them, and I'm ready when you are.
Awesome. Thank you guys for your opening statements. We'll get into the 60-minute open dialogue, and I'll get the timer ready. Real quick, guys, if you're new here to the channel, please like, subscribe. Coming up month. So let's get into the open dialogue, guys. So whoever wants to kick it off, since Andrew just stopped. Leslie, you might want to answer a couple of those questions, or
Yeah, I have a quick question that I'd like to dive into, if you don't mind me getting the first inquiry. I'm happy if you want to take the first inquiry too. It's up to you.
Go ahead.
Yeah. How come boxing isn't toxically masculine? Just in and of itself, what makes it not toxically masculine? What sets it apart?
Well, who said it wasn't toxic?
That's what I'm asking you. Is boxing in and of itself just the act of
Sorry.
Yeah, go. Just the act of pugilism in and of itself, two men going in and knocking the shit out of each other in a competitive way, which means
Literally saying, right? I don't think martial arts is toxic. Here's a woman that says martial arts is toxic. This is the problem, right? It is a way for men to channel their emotions, their thoughts, their life. Okay, all the martial arts, sports, all this thing is a good way for men to channel their energy. And in her view, it's toxic.
every threshold of toxic masculinity that you stated, is it in and of itself toxically masculine?
I personally don't see a purpose in boxing, and I would consider that a byproduct of an example of toxic masculinity.
Same with UFC.
I don't watch the UFC, but
Same with all male dominated team sports. For instance, why isn't football toxic masculinity? Why isn't basketball toxic masculinity? Why aren't those things which fit the definitional criteria perfectly not toxic masculinity? Why not? What makes them different?
Well, I can't think of I'm not going to consider how sports are related to it, but when you mentioned boxing, I don't see the point in pummeling somebody to the point where they have serious cognitive effects later on in life. I don't see the point in that.
So therefore it should be abolished, right?
I didn't say it should be abolished.
Well, why not? Why wouldn't you want to get rid of something that's toxically masculine? Why do you want to keep something which is toxically masculine as part of society? Exactly. That's weird to me. Why?
Do you think it's a problem to have a sport that encourages negative health outcomes in the future?
Hell no. I think that's
a problem. So if the boxing is a product of toxic masculinity, and these are problems that are known to rise from boxing, then it's a problem. I didn't say
it's kind of ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. There's so many things in life that has a negative future impact. Weed, drinking. I mean, like driving can have a negative impact. We have more driving deaths than gun death, right? So many things that has a negative, a possibly negative future impact. Hell, abortion has it too, right? Abortion can F up your body. They can F up your body. They can F up your mentality. So since it has a negative impact to people and society, why don't we get rid of it then? Yeah, UFC is much safer.
No, you're claiming. Hang on.
But I just
hang on. This is that we have a distinction.
I just it was a problem, and you said,
from my view, it's not. I'm talking about your view.
No, but I asked you if there are a problem with a sport that is known to cause significant
and the answer from me was what?
Yes.
The answer from me, what the shit out of each other.
Right. Okay, so I have a couple things I want to address.
Well, hang on. Before we do, I want an actual answer to my question. Why aren't all team sports, which are men driven, what makes any of them not toxically masculine? What's the threshold breaker? Because they fit your criteria perfectly.
Athleticism does not fit with the concept of what toxic masculinity.
I didn't say athleticism. I said male driven team sports. Football, yeah, basketball, football. Tell me which criteria.
That's part of athleticism.
Yeah, which criteria don't they meet? Football and basketball for toxic masculinity. What criteria?
Football, you get CTE, right? I mean, like so many of them are suffering from CTE, and basketball. There are fights in basketball, right? People beat up each other in basketball. Hockey, I mean, like pretty much all male sports, there are fights in it.
Are they not meeting?
I didn't say that they met a criteria, so I don't.
I'm asking you, what criteria aren't they meeting?
Well, what's the point of the question?
Because I want to determine if from your view, football and basketball meet all of the criteria you gave me for toxic masculinity. And if they do, okay, then what is it that they don't meet as far as the criteria? What don't they meet?
Not gone to the extreme of being harmful.
What is it? No, of course they are. They do the same exact thing boxing does. They beat up your body. They cause brain damage, especially football.
Basketball causes brain damage.
Oh, of course, yeah. It causes stress on the body. It causes limb damage. It causes all sorts of damage to the body. You think that professional athletes who go in there and they're running practices like this for hours and hours and hours at a time aren't damaging their body and long-term health? That's insane. Of course they are.
Okay. Well,
so what is it? So what is it specifically that makes these two sports not toxically masculine? What?
I don't find them harmful to society. They're not.
What is it?
They're not harmful to. They're not. They're not harmful. They're not toxic.
How could it not be harmful when the players are getting?
Nothing wrong with being. There's nothing wrong with being.
How are they not harmful when players are getting their brains?
Competing.
How are they not harmful when players are getting their brains bashed in football? Right? They're getting concussions. Sometimes they die. They get all sorts of long-term health ramifications.
Yeah, I mean, there's no inherently cause for brain damage, but they do face sustaining concussions and head trauma. So it does happen even in basketball.
They get brain damage, all the same shit you see in boxing. How are you going to say that's not harmful? How's that not harmful?
First of all, football is another sport I don't get. But I don't watch football. I don't watch. But I'm just saying that for sports that where there's nothing wrong with being competitive as an athlete or perform at a professional level.
Yeah, but I think you're missing the point of the inquiry. The point of the inquiry is to say toxic masculinity needs to stop because it's bad for society, right?
I said toxic masculinity is a problem.
Okay, and that I'm sorry. Do you usually solve problems or do you just not solve problems? Because I think okay, great.
Problems is looking how things get to an extreme. So you address it before it gets to an extreme.
Yeah, but I mean, football's already football. What's an extreme of toxic masculinity?
It's just like hazing in sports was.
Ask your question. I never mind answering your question, my brother.
Was part of the sports culture, but when the industry looked at it and realized, well, there's a problem with it, that's kind of being taken out.
Not beer. I'm drinking soda. It's soda. I don't like beer. Beer tastes like piss to me.
Of the realm of sports, so you can still have sports.
Well, hang on. Back up for me. When you say an extreme example of toxic masculinity, you just mean toxic masculinity which causes harm. That's it, right? That's all you mean by extreme?
I mean, when you look at the extreme, when what it means to be a man is taken to the extreme and becomes harmful, that is when it becomes toxic. So
but what is the harm? Yeah, but
she puts a whole lot of word to it. Ginger beer is soda? I've never heard of that. I'm drinking vanilla cream soda. I've never heard of ginger beer. Hypothetically, would you rather get a prenup or trust? This doesn't reflect reality. Is it only prenup? I would get a prenup. Yeah, I would get a prenup. Even with someone I like, the girl I'm dating right now, she's going to sign a prenup, right? The girl I'm dating right now, she's going to sign a prenup. Yes, it's yummy. I love that thing.
But when you're demonstrating harms, right? This is bad because it's harmful. If you are damaging your health by playing basketball professionally, how are you going to tell me that's not harmful?
Well, you can engage in any kind of work, whether it's physical or whether sitting at a desk without.
So all competition is actually harmful.
But when you're actively putting yourself in a position to be pummeled, I don't understand the point of that. I don't see
what form of competition is not harmful. You're always harming somebody.
Not physically, not necessarily physically.
No, it doesn't.
And the point isn't that whether you understand it or not, right? It's not about you understanding why people do it or whatever about it, right? It doesn't matter if you understand it. Does it apply to your views of toxic masculinity? I.e., bringing harm.
It doesn't matter if it's physical. Bullying isn't physical. It can be physical, but it's not necessary that it is. What form of competition do you ever engage with somebody in where there's not a loser and therefore harm?
Yeah, but competition is not toxic. So I don't understand the point of that question.
What do you mean it's not toxic? I thought all that toxic meant is competition that's masculine or some sort of masculine characteristic which causes harm. The harm is the problem here, right? It's the harm aspect that we want to, because you don't care about toxic masculinity if it's not harmful, right? You don't give a shit.
Well, then in that instance, it's not toxic. So
right, because it causes no harm. I'm saying that almost all forms of competition cause harm, though. Almost all of them. So if really what your goal here is just basic harm reduction, and you think,
and he's testing her logic. Okay, here's a woman, a black woman. No duh, she wouldn't see basketball as harmful. No duh, she wouldn't see basketball as harmful. Because most likely, she watches it or she's very into her family or whoever, right? Of course, black culture is very intertwined with basketball. So she wouldn't see that as toxic masculinity. Yet, you would see football as toxic masculinity. Why? You would see boxing as toxic masculinity. Why? Because all these other sports have high level of athleticism, okay? All these sports, all sports have high level of athleticism. Yeah, you wouldn't see that as toxic? Why? I mean, yeah, women can be extremely mean ass bullies.
Addressing toxic masculinity reduces harm. Why not take it to the next step and address all competition, since all competition causes harm?
Because as I said in my opening speech, too much of a good thing can becomes a bad thing. But I did not. I'm not. You chose to focus on sports or competition. I didn't say that. What I want to do is make a distinction between what is. There's nothing wrong with something but it can become toxic when it is when it's in its most extreme form. So there's I don't understand the point in bringing up.
Yeah, I don't.
But it doesn't mean that it's masculine. It's like, why do you equate anything men do as toxic? So let's hypothetically, right? A man that fights, a man that gets in a fight, you equate that as masculine. Okay. But a man that kills that person in that fight, now you equate that as toxic masculine? No, right? You don't just like, okay, because he fought, he was have a fight, right? It's masculine. Now that he went the extra step of, like, let's say killing that person, now it's toxic masculinity? No, it's not, right? You just can't, like, oh, because now it upped a level. That's absolutely idiotic. Absolutely idiotic. It really is, because it doesn't necessarily make sense. The fact that killing someone isn't inherently man-oriented, right? It isn't inherently masculine-oriented to kill someone. Plenty of women have killed someone. This is a thing where it's like, I sometimes I understand that the outliers or whatever, the minority doesn't necessarily disprove the majority, but it doesn't necessarily make it real as well, okay? So even though majority of violence is committed by men, it is, again, and there's a bit of women that commit violence, I still see it as a genderless thing, okay? Because here's the thing where we also have to equate, majority of men don't commit violence. Majority of men don't commit violence. So it's like, is it actually masculine or, have something to do with being a man to commit violence? It's not. I think even in these sports, right, it's just the athleticism, right? It's the goal. It's the pushing yourself, right? So it's not necessarily the violent act. It's just, more of the competition in essence, right? Because I don't think necessarily men are just violent just to be violent. I think men have a desire for competition. I don't know if I say sadly, but reality is that a lot of competition is very active, right? It's very physical in nature.
What do you mean by the word extreme there? What does that mean when you say extreme there?
Because
hang on. I'm not asking you to give me a because. I'm asking you what specifically when you say this is extreme. What does extreme there mean? What does that mean?
Well, it's the difference between, say, jealousy and envy. It's the difference between.
Those are examples. I'm asking what it means.
It's an analogy for the extreme when it's too much of something.
Okay, so extreme just means.
A good thing is a bad thing when you've gone to the extreme, or when you've done too much of when it's too much.
And how do we make value assessments on when something's too much?
Well, when it becomes harmful.
Okay, so then the whole point here is to reduce harm.
Okay, so you take.
Hang on. So hang on. I'm just making sure we get clarity here in the semantics so that you can't weasel out of this. Really, your goal here is to make a reduction of harm, correct?
Okay.
Is that correct or not?
Yes.
Okay, great. If that's correct, and then you're addressing toxic masculinity and saying toxic masculinity causes harm, things which are toxically masculine are harmful, therefore I suspect that you want to eliminate those things or remove those things, right? That they cause harm.
Yeah, in some instances they need to be eliminated or just revisited.
So we should eliminate boxing.
No, it's
why?
What I'm saying is that
why not though? That would definitely reduce harm.
Oh, okay, then maybe
it's funny too. She doesn't realize the toxicity of her viewpoints as well. So let's say we eliminate boxing, basketball, football. We eliminate the biggest probably the few of the biggest contributors to Black excellence. Right? I mean, the Black community, right? We can eliminate rapping as well because that could be harmful. these are avenues that a lot of black people go into to gain wealth. You want to eliminate that because it's toxic masculine, which is interesting.
There's a way to approach the sport of boxing where that can be eliminated. If maybe it is found years later that the sport is not something that is healthy for any individual to be partaking in, who knows, maybe in the future, maybe taking. I'm talking
about right now. Right now, two men walk into.
We already know it's not healthy. Seriously, when has it ever been healthy to hit somebody? It's never been healthy to hit someone. It's never been healthy to be in physical extreme contact with someone. It's never been healthy. That's ridiculous, right? We know that now. So his argument is, so should we eliminate it? Because we 100% know it's not healthy, right?
Ring and they beat the holy shit out of each other with their fists.
I don't see the point in that.
Yeah, I'm not asking if you see the point in it. I'm asking, since it's obviously toxically masculine by your definition, because it causes harm. Masculine behavior, which causes harm, is toxically masculine.
I didn't say masculine behavior causes harm.
I didn't say that. No.
You're making a connection between masculinity and violence, which I didn't.
No. I'm not saying that you're claiming that masculinity itself is harmful. I'm saying that you're claiming that a masculine trait, which is taken to its extreme here meaning harmful, is the thing you're trying to stop. So a masculine trait which leads to harm, right? That thing you want to stop that thing, correct?
I don't. It's hard for me to say I want to stop it because there's more that goes into it. But at the end of the day, I think the product of
then now I don't understand the position. So honestly, I don't actually understand the position. I asked you specifically. You said that you want.
So she doesn't want to stop something she perceives as toxic. What do you want to do with it then? What's the point? What's the point of arguing, right? Toxic masculinity is bad. Okay, great. Now what do you want? What do you want to do? It's like, okay, I just want to say it, right? I just want to say it's bad. Okay. So what? Then what's the point? It's like there's no end. This is like, it's typical women, right? It's typical women. I just want to talk about my feelings. I don't need you to solve it, right? I don't need you to solve my feelings. I just want to vent to you. You're wasting my day, okay? You're wasting my time. It's like, this is the way women think. A lot of women think. It's so unproductive, right? It is so unproductive to think like a woman. And then you think that we should make women as leaders. They are unproductive. Women in general are unproductive. I'm sorry. Where you just want to talk about things. You don't want to solve things. You don't want a direction, right? Where are we going with this? Talking about it, right? You believe that there's toxic masculinity. Okay, great. Now what? Oh, I just want to talk about it, right? I just want to say that there is. What the hell is the point? This is the problem with feminists. Their views don't hold when applied to society. Yes, and they don't have no solution to anything. They have no solution, right? What's the point?
Stop extreme versions of the whatever the masculine behavior is. When I ask what does extreme mean here, you say what extreme means here is too much of it leading to harm. So this means masculine thing plus too much of it, which leads to harm, is the thing we're trying to reduce or get rid of here. Boxing meets the criteria of too much of masculine thing, which leads to harm. So why aren't we getting rid of boxing then?
Okay, can you not create a complete face guard or something? Can you still not?
You're still going to get harmed. You're still going to get harmed. Getting punched in the face is harmful.
If you were to create a mask that covers your entire face, can you still not?
How does that negate her toxic masculinity? Right? It's like, it's the act of it, right? It's the act of punching someone in the face is her toxic masculinity. So if you protect the other person, is it now less toxic? It's like, I swear to God, I mean, like, women every day, right, online prove to me why I don't think women are good leaders. This is why women are better co-leaders, right, or helpmate, right? Women are better helpmate than actual leaders. It is good to have women to advise you, not tell you what to do, right? because women give a good, different perspective. But women make for terrible leaders. Yeah, headgear in boxing does not work the way she thinks it is. I've heard headgear actually makes things worse, right? I've heard headgear actually makes things worse because you could see less, right? You have less visibility. So, dodging is harder.
Participate in the sport of boxing. It's the same as
No, you can't. No.
It's the same thing as hockey. Once upon a time, they didn't have face guards.
And you know what? What's a prime meeting?
Flying at your face.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's make hockey, but you can still play
Off and kick the shit out of each other, and it's completely legitimate to do in the game because it's part of the rules of the game. And when you're talking about boxing, the thing that makes boxing interesting and the reason why men want to compete in it is specifically because they're not wearing face masks and they want to punch each other's faces in the most professional way possible to win lots of money and compete with each other. And even if it was to be the case that you came in as mother nanny to tell men, this isn't very good for you, put your face mask on, and they put face masks on, you're still getting hit in a mask. It's still going to snap your head and this and that. It's still going to cause harm. So we should just get rid of it, right?
No, you can just find a way to address it.
Okay, that's what's the way that you would address boxing where it 100% would cause no harm?
I don't know. I'm not a boxer.
You don't know. I don't know.
So when I research the sport of boxing, then I can let you know. But I'm not a boxer. I don't participate in that sport, so I'm not the one to be asking that. You have to speak to an athlete in that realm.
Okay, well then let's move on to. We'll move on to something else then. How about?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let you do an inquiry. Fine.
So you said that when you mentioned examples of how toxic masculine men are actually the ones that women go after. You mentioned Elon Musk. He's there's like 14 different children, different mothers or whatever. So then it's fine to create a broken home then, because it's funny that you also said that one of the problems of that's.
It's not fine, right? He's talking about reality, right? This is the problem with women where they don't understand. Men talk for what is, right? Not what should be. Men talk about what is, not what should be. It is a fact, right? It's the fact that women are actually sharing men, right? It is a fact that most men don't reproduce, while most women do. Throughout history, it is a fact that most men haven't reproduced. Throughout history, most women have. What does that mean? Women are sharing most men, right? A lot of women are sharing men, like baby mamas, like a baby daddy may have like 2, 3, 4 baby mamas, right? And it's not like, oh, like we say that we want it. No, we're saying that if you care about toxic masculinity, why are women sharing men? If women care so much about shitty men, terrible men, right? Women, I hate the cheaters, the liars, the abusers. Why are women sharing these liars, cheaters, and abusers? You never see a cheater without someone to cheat on. You never see an abuser without someone to abuse. Self-made, what is up, my brother? What is up? You never see a liar without a girl, right? You don't. So if these men are so terrible, why do they not have problems in the dating market? Why do the men, right, that are virgins, he never lied, he never cheated, he never abused, why is that man lonely? Why is that man lonely? Why does the Pookie have 2, 3, 4 baby mamas? Please tell me that. Why is the virgin a virgin, yet the Pookies have multiple baby mamas? Make that make sense. Men are not saying that, oh, you know what? Oh, it's a good thing. No, men are saying that if you care actually about terrible men, why are you reproducing with terrible men?
That speaks to the suicide rate in men. You were quick to say single mothers, which is a broken home. So can you?
There's no contradiction there.
So it's fine if Elon Musk is a toxic masculine.
Hang on, wait a second. But do you know the distinction between a descriptive and prescriptive claim?
Explain that.
Okay, descriptively, I'm telling you something that is. Prescriptively, I'm telling you something that ought be.
That is not will not be?
No, ought to be. Should be. It's prescriptive, this should be. Descriptive is this is. Me
So
explain
what should,
me explaining to you that Elon Musk is rich, is fucking lots of women, and is having lots of children is in fact the case. Do we disagree on that?
is that a problem?
No. Well, hang on. Before we get to that, do we agree that that is in fact the
Yeah,
case?
yes.
Yes. Great. Now you forgot in the rest of my opening statement where I said, as a Christian, right, I actually battle against red pillars and people like this who prescribe this, but it's just with another form of what you would consider toxic masculinity to be, which is something which is based in patriarchy, female submission, and the idea that men are the heads of families and the head of the church. So that would actually combat single motherhood, since within my toxically masculine worldview, the entire goal of having children under God is through a marriage, right? And you have the support system of the church which assists with that. So one of the major reasons you end up with divorces, and you see so few divorces among the really, really heavily religious, is because of that support network. So it addresses both of these things. It's both descriptively true.
Exactly. I love it. Why do women sleep with pookies? Because they will use every excuse to avoid accountability. I was young, he lied, I was stupid, I was drunk, etc. Exactly.
That I see lots of these red pill guys fucking lots of hot women and rolling in the money, and tons of more women seem to show up to have lots of sex with them every time they turn around.
Here's the thing, right? We were debating with Alan. We were debating with Alan a while ago, right? Last week. We were debating Alan last week, right? He was saying like, oh my God, you know what? Red pill is so toxic and all this shit. Right? It says all these things like, like the Myron Gaines, the Andrew Tate shit. Here's the thing. Those men are symptoms of women, in the sense that you think that men desire to go to the gym. You think that men desire to make a lot of money. You think men desire, let's say, one of the most insane things men do. They chop off they break their bones, right? Men break their bones, put a steel rod in their leg, right? Men put a steel rod in their leg to add like 5 inches to them. You think men desire that shit? I do think that's toxic, right? One of the things Myron Gaines said, men need a body count of 50. Men need to sleep with 50 women. You think I promote that? I don't. But I accept reality as well. Why are there so many virgin men, right? Or men with very little sex experience? Why are those men single? Why are the men that have high body counts, right? Why do the men have high body counts? Why do they have women? Right? This is the thing what we don't think about. Why do the tall men, the toxic men, the Pookies, the Chads, the Tyrones, the high value men, the men that lie, cheat, abuse, why are those men always with women? Why are those men always highly desirable? Why are those men high value men? Why? It's not because men made those men high value. No, it's because women value those men. Women value men with high body count. Women value that because a man with a high body count means that he got those bodies, right? There's a reason why he has those bodies under him. It wasn't because he was like an ugly nerd living in his mother's basement. That's how he got a high body count. 50 is crazy, but here's the thing where I don't promote that, but it's a symptom, right? The men that promote that, right? The Myron Gaines or the Andrew Tates or whatever, to promote that, it's a symptom. It is a thing that we recognize in the world. The women that are 7s, 8s, 9s, well, guess what? They desire high value men. Guess what? High value men have fucking high body counts. So it's not that men say that, oh yeah, we want that. We want men like that. No, we don't. We would promote, I believe most men, which are average men, most men are average men, they want marriage. They want commitment. Most men want to be settled down. Most men want to settle down with one woman that will love them, that will treasure them, that will be there for them for the rest of their life. Most men do. The problem is, how can you find that when honestly you're not desirable to women?
And it's the case that I think that my worldview is superior at the same time.
So Elon Musk, as your model, as a representative of toxic masculinity, do you think it is a problem that he's going out and creating broken homes?
Sure. Thanks. Terrible.
So you have toxic masculinity as a problem.
Well, that's not. Hang on. But I'm combating it with even more toxic masculinity.
Here's the thing where having multiple women is not a masculine thing, right? It's not I don't equate a man having multiple women, multiple broken families as a masculine trait. It isn't. It's gluttony, right? It's a man or a person that can't control themselves, right? That is a gluttonous. That's not a man thing. So just imagine a different way where, how about a woman with a 50 body count? Is that a toxic masculinity? Or a single mom that has multiple baby daddies? Is that now toxic masculinity? No. Having a broken family isn't a masculine trait. It isn't masculine nor feminine, right? It's just values. It's lack of. Elon Musk, he doesn't have those kind of values. That doesn't mean that he's a toxic man, right? Or he exudes toxic masculinity. This is the problem with women. They equate anything a man does, they equate anything bad a man does as being toxic masculinity. You are stupid. Because if women can do it, it doesn't equate it to being masculine. Okay? Right? Particularly when honestly, what about having kids is masculine, right? It's just nature, human nature, right? Both men and women have kids. Both men and women can, have broken homes. It's not toxic masculine. It's not masculinity or femininity in nature.
You mentioned
no, I'm combating it. I'm combating it
as somebody who represents what toxic masculinity is about. You said, he gets to sleep with a bunch of women. He has all these children, and it doesn't matter because for whatever reason, he can do what he wants. So that's
I understand. I understand what you're. Yes, I understand your point. So yes, let me give you the response. Let me give you the response here. Right. Let us pretend for a moment that you had a man who tortured other men, and he was really good at it. Okay, like he was the best torturer around. And you were like, man, torture is really bad. And I wish this guy would stop torturing people. And I said, hey, I'll put a stop to that. And I went and tortured the torturer to death. You would still say, that's bad, Andrew, because you tortured the torturer to death. And I don't believe in torture. So when I say, yes, I would combat Elon Musk and his ideology of having sex with lots of women to have bastard children all over the United States, that has no bearing on whether or not I would use the most toxically masculine cultural religious practices of our time, which is patriarchal Christianity. So you're just back to the same problem. I might say, hey, I think that this is harmful, but I'm combating it with actual toxic masculinity. So what do you mean? If the answer to toxic masculinity being harmful is just more toxic masculinity, then sure.
So basically we agree that toxic masculinity is a problem.
No, it's
a therapy session for her. To be honest, the problem is that she won't learn anything.
Seems to be a solution, actually.
Yeah, how could it be a solution if you're admitting yourself that who you consider to be a model of the toxic masculine man that men want, he's a problem.
The problem is not what I mean. Personally, I don't view Elon Musk as toxic masculinity. Okay, it's really ridiculous.
What he's contributing to.
No, what I'm admitting to is that we need a much more toxically masculine system to combat this toxic masculine system. It's not even a good enough toxically masculine system. Okay. It needs to be more toxically masculine, way more. There's not enough of that. He's only going partway into toxic masculinity. I'm talking about full-on church submission. Fuck this half-measure shit. I'm like, these fucking women are prostitutes who are basically selling their womb for $1 million to a millionaire. Right? So I'm like, more of this toxic masculinity is what is necessary to save us from these half measures of toxic masculinity.
So these that you call prostitutes that are engaging with men like Elon Musk. You said.
Well, hang on. Hold on. I just want to make sure we get the semantics right. Okay. When I say prostitute, I'm specifically saying these women are selling a sexual service to Elon Musk in exchange for money and material gain. Do you agree that that's true? That they're doing that?
Sure.
Then they're prostitutes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you not list material gain as one of the benefits of toxic men?
Sure, it can be a benefit to some men.
Okay, so it's not a benefit for women.
It can be a benefit for women too.
So is it a problem? So is it a problem or is it not?
It's not a problem. To material gain in and of itself wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Materialism, from my view, would be a problem, which means that solely you are pursuing something for the purpose of material gain and only material gain. I would consider that problematic, but not very toxically masculine. Usually the toxically masculine are doing the things they're doing for some higher purpose than just for the purpose of owning something. There's some other purpose behind it.
Oh, and what higher purpose do these highly competitive toxic masculine are they usually looking for?
Things like status, things like respect, stuff like this. Things which you would consider to be immaterial concepts, not material concepts, but materialism can be part of those concepts. Like, for instance, if you wanted to have status, I think that if you had 14 really, really hot chicks who followed you around everywhere half naked, that could be conflated with some sort of status symbol.
All right. So is that a problem?
Well, from my view, I would consider that to be immoral, but not toxic masculinity. It's a half measure of toxic masculinity. It's still giving way too much. What it's doing is it's giving way too much egalitarianism to women. It's still settling women in some sort of equal phase. And I don't consider that toxic masculinity.
Yo, see, look at that, right? Even Brent loved that song. This is a great ass song. Oh wait, let's see. Like, you already are making some bangers.
You said you were hungry. So now we do this my way.
I didn't listen to the I Will Bake song yet. That's crazy.
Midnight kitchen, fluorescent pain. Crack black coffee running through my veins. Measuring flour with the shaking hand. Trying not to psychologically collapse again. Burn my fingers on the cursed tray.
That's a little taste. A little taste. Red Door, what is up, my sister?
That more egalitarianism. We need toxic masculinity to fix that sort of fucking degeneracy. That's what I think.
Is what, in your words?
It would be things like massive sexual promiscuity, going after materialism just for the sake of materialism, the idea of having no kind of moral barometer whatsoever, the idea of egalitarianism, that men and women are interchangeable widgets. These would be the things that toxic masculinity would be fixing, yes.
Even though male promiscuity is part of the toxic masculine?
That's not the that was nowhere
No. Women have heavy promiscuity.
in your definition. So
that's not in my, well, I had to pick one of several definitions, but
well, next time you better pick one that includes the thing that you're making the claim about, huh?
If you look at definitions, any kind of definition online, promiscuity in males or the ability to attract women, female attention, even when you refer to a couple examples of if you have several women on your arm and that constitutes status, that is all linked to promiscuity among men. So why is that not a problem? You just said that that toxic masculinity is supposed to fix the issue of promiscuity, but now all of a sudden it's fine if promiscuity is good with men. So I'm a bit,
I don't have any idea how you even came to this conclusion. So
no, you said
he didn't say promiscuity is good in men. He said promiscuity isn't a man thing, right? Being promiscuous isn't gender based.
So here's my position.
This is the problem. This is the problem when debating with women, right? Debating with people on the left or debating with women, they don't listen, right? They don't listen to comprehend. They listen to just regurgitate whatever they view, right? They listen so they can just say more what they believe instead of, combat or understand what the other person is talking about. She literally misheard what he said. He said promiscuity isn't a male thing. Both men and women can and have been promiscuous. It's not a toxic masculinity, because to say promiscuity is toxic masculinity, you're literally saying women are toxic men. What the fuck is that?
I'll make the position clear.
Hold on, let me
Okay, go ahead.
because you said you weren't clear, so I'll make it clear.
Okay.
You were saying that one of the examples you use about toxic masculine men who are,
I didn't call them toxic men.
One of these ways that these men can achieve status is with they'll have a bunch of women on their arm. Maybe I was wrong in not choosing one of a million definitions.
I think I figured out the disconnect here, actually.
But promiscuity is part of that type of prowess in men is also part of the toxic masculine behavior. So
then you're just adding things to your definition.
So if you are saying that toxic masculinity is supposed to fix promiscuity, I'm unclear as to how it's okay with men but not for women.
So let me try this again. My opening statement said, quote, when progressives talk about toxic masculinity, they enjoy bringing up figures like Andrew Tate and Myron Gaines. Okay. When progressives, so from the progressive view, they see this as being toxic masculinity. I see it as just being more progressive degeneracy. Has nothing to do with toxic masculinity at all. What I'm saying is that in order to fix that progressive degeneracy, we need more toxic masculinity. And the most toxic of all forms of masculinity is the patriarchal Christian church.
And he's being sarcastic. He's being sarcastic when he's saying toxic, right? More toxic. No, because in progressive's view, patriarchal Christianity is toxic, right? Because it's patriarchal. He's being sarcastic, which she probably doesn't understand. He's being sarcastic.
The most toxic. And so since I want to use the very most toxic of all toxic masculinity by the definition that you gave, I want the Christian church to come in and assist with putting a stop to all of this progressive nonsense. Pretty simple. So I think toxic masculinity will actually fix most of this shit. That's what I think.
In your opening statement, you mentioned Elon Musk. You mentioned that women...
From the progressive view, from the view of the progressive. I'm not a progressive. I separated my intro into two parts. The progressive view and then Andrew Wilson's view. The whole second part was my view. You keep quoting the first part, which is your view. The things you consider to be toxic masculinity, which I don't believe are. I think that they're just forms of progressive egalitarian degeneracy, and that actual toxic masculinity, the things which are you would consider to be the most extreme versions of masculinity, which is women are to submit to the patriarchal order. That's the Christian church. That's my view. That's what toxic masculinity is, if we're looking at the extremes of masculinity.
So did we not have a point in time when women were more submissive men or their partners?
Yeah.
So what happened? If that's supposed to be the answer to fix the problems of today, why did we revert from that?
Because women became rebellious. Because women became easily to manipulate. Women were manipulated by the toxic women, right? Women were manipulated by terrible women. Women were also manipulated by, let's say, money grubbing men, right? Because feminism was pushed by toxic women, right? Disgusting, selfish, egotistical women. And they were pushed by gluttonous, disgusting, selfish, money absorbed men, right? And men as the rich, right? I'll just say the rich, because they wanted a bigger workforce and they wanted more people to tax. So they needed women to go into the workforce to separate from men, to go into a workforce so they can have more bodies to have labor and tax.
Because of birth control?
If that was the answer. Because
of birth control, mostly?
Because of birth control.
Yeah.
Oh, that had nothing to do with the fact that there was a feminist movement where women felt that they were devalued.
Yeah, and what year did birth control you're talking about?
You know how long women have been fighting?
Hey, answer my question. When was that big feminist movement you're talking about?
Movement? You know how long the feminist movement...
Wait, hang on. The primary feminist movement that you would be referencing for when women started moving out of those submissive roles.
I didn't reference.
When they started moving out of those submissive roles was between which years again? The 60s and 70s, man. Around the same time as birth control, man. Wow, that's crazy. The connection there, that now you can have sex without it leading to reproduction. And so because of that, there's no consequences. That's crazy.
So that's entirely why where women stop submitting. It's completely due to birth control.
That's what rearranged interpersonal male and female dynamics, was the ability to have sex without consequences.
No, I think the women's movement has...
This isn't think. There's no think about this. This is well-established data.
I'm telling you what I know. The women's movement has been going on for much longer than the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the primary...
Hold on. There was an iconic speech by Sir Junior Truth, Ain't I a Woman? Yeah. And it was at a women's rights convention. That was in the 1860s.
Yeah. Feminism has been around.
This is how long women have been fighting for their rights.
We're not talking about women...
You get to a point where now you have instituted a movement.
Woman, bring me another cup of coffee.
Hold on, where you now instituted a movement where now it's beginning to gain steam, and then finally you have the benefits of that. But to say that birth control is the only reason for the feminist movement,
I didn't say it was.
He didn't say that was the only thing. He said the spark, right? The actual spark that, because if 1860s, right? She said 1860s. Why didn't women gain the rights during the 1860s then? Why wasn't a huge amount of women? Why didn't things change in the 1860s? Why? Because there wasn't something that was a catalyst, right? Women have been talking for years. Okay, great. So what? Why wasn't there a catalyst? The catalyst was plenty of all these things, right? It was technology. Technology was a big thing. Birth control, dishwasher, laundry machine, like all these technology, the AC in like work offices, a lot of these things, a lot of the technological movement, right? The technological advancements, it helped push women to give women, oh, I want a part of that. I don't want to be part of the home, right? Or I want to get out of the home so I can do other things, right? I want to be in the workforce, be in the office, shit like that.
The only one.
Leslie,
Yeah.
you guys are doing great going back and forth. I just want to see if I can maybe get you to connect that back to the prompt of, is toxic masculinity a problem? Kind of going towards more of a argument for feminists there instead of away from arguing against,
Okay.
arc back.
Some of his points on
Or more feminine. Why do I have a feeling that you go for more masculine men? Why do I have this feeling that you go for more masculine men? You do? I am stunned. Yeah. I am shocked. I am just, I can't believe it. How could it be possible that you, the arbiter who thinks toxic masculinity is bad, goes for more masculine men? I am just...
Ask me how long a toxic masculine man is going to last with me. Because I've said before, because I think what you want to do is have me conflate masculinity with toxic masculinity, and I don't.
Okay. So these masculine men...
That men are inherently violent. I even say that. But
let's find out. Okay, hang on. Let's investigate this view. Let's see if it's actually true. These men that you're attracted to they're very masculine. They're not very competitive, though, are they?
It depends what...
Well, they're pretty competitive men if they're masculine, aren't they? Pretty competitive guys?
Probably.
Probably pretty competitive. Let's see. I'm guessing that a lot of them take great care with their body. They go to the gym, and they probably have gym bros that they go with just to kind of make sure that they are in good shape because they want to keep their attractiveness level up.
I think it's insane that black women is talking about toxic masculinity. I'm sorry. Black women are the epitome of the type of women that go for extreme masculinity. Black women are the epitome, right, of the type of women that go for extreme masculinity. They predominantly go for violent men. They predominantly go for dangerous men. They predominantly go for men that are hyper masculine, okay, hyper desirable, highly demand. It is insane, the audacity. Black women are not necessarily in general, are not the type of women that go for feminine men, that go for the nerds, that go for the quiet, that goes for the quiet virgin. Black women are not the gender, not the race of women that actually go for low tier masculinity.
And they probably have some kind of standard for when you go out. They probably want you to look good because it helps them out with their status, right? Not you, of course. That's not what's masculine, right? You have a different standard. Or isn't it the case that probably that's exactly what happens? You get together with highly competitive men, right? They do all sorts of interpersonal competition. They probably themselves play sports. They probably themselves go to the gym. They probably themselves do all of these things to keep themselves in shape. And they probably like it when you look good, right?
Okay.
Exactly. I tried to explain this to a feminine friend decades ago. Do you find feminine men attractive? No. Well, guess what? Most men do not find masculine women attractive. And this is the thing where, I'm sorry, men are the way they are because of women, not because of men. Okay? Women find competitive men attractive. It's part of nature, right? A man that competes for women find that highly attractive. Why do you think the winners are always desirable? The winners are always desirable in our society.
Probably and probably not. Not necessarily fixated on the gym.
Maybe not fixated on the gym. Got it. Yeah.
Not they don't have to be highly competitive. No.
I'm not saying they have to be.
I think you have. I think
I'm not asking. I'm not. Hang on. I'm not asking about if they have to be from your view. I'm asking about is the type of men that you select for, generally speaking, that kind of. Oh, really? Not necessarily. So if I ask you, you go back to your last 5 relationships, right? Is it the case that these men were taller than you?
Taller than me, it can be.
Yeah, bit. But wait, no. I'm not asking if it's okay if they're shorter than you. I'm asking the last 5 relationships. Just hang on. Just humor me here. The last 5 men that you've been in a relationship with.
He's trying to let you talk to prove you wrong. This is the most easy tactic when it comes to women, right? You want to prove a woman wrong, right? My brothers, you want to do this? You want to prove a woman wrong? Let her talk. Let her talk about her own life. Women have these views about men, society, all this shit, okay? When you listen to women's story about their own life, when women tell you about their own life, it's literally counterintuitive to their point of views, right? The women say that, oh, toxic masculinity, patriarchy, men are terrible, all this shit. You listen to their life story, it will literally disprove their point of views.
Is it the case that they were taller than you?
That had nothing to do with it.
I'm asking. Can you answer my question?
Yeah, well, you're asking me if.
Can you answer? Could you just answer the question? Just humor me.
If you're going to say that has to do with attraction or
just humor me, please. Just humor me. No, is it the case that the last 5 men you've been with have been taller than you?
A little, okay.
Yes, they have. Okay, so the answer is yes. Is it the case that the last 5 men that you've been with make more money than you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And is it the case that the last 5 men that you've been with make that money through some form of competition with each other? With other men. They make their money through some form of competition with other men, whether it's in the office, they're in sales, whatever it is that they're doing, they're in competition with other men to make money.
I don't know.
You don't know?
They pick up to men or women to make money because they work with men or women. So
yeah, but they're in competition with somebody. They're in competition with somebody, right?
They're in competition with somebody then.
And mostly men, right? They're mostly in competition with other men.
Well, there's women in the workplace, so
sure, but that doesn't mean that that's who they're competing with.
Well, who are they competing with? If that's who they work.
I don't know. I don't know what their occupations are, but generally, if you look at male,
they're women.
Well, let's see.
You want me to say that they're only competitive with men, which is
mostly
a very limited.
Just at least mostly competitive with men. So if they're in a male-dominated job like construction, or if they're mechanics, or if these are all jobs where there's very few women, unless you were dating with a bunch of doctors, nurses, or sociologists, chances are pretty good that they're competing with other men, right?
Okay, so what does this have to do with the
because it's just topic? to me, and this isn't abruptly meaningful. I agree with that, but to me, every time I have one of these conversations with a woman about toxic masculinity, and then I ask her about the preferences of the last 5 relationships that she's had, for some fucking reason, all the time, they always choose the toxically masculine men. It's bizarre to me. They choose men who are tall and who are handsome.
What does being handsome and being taller and being competitive have to do with being toxic? Do you know the difference between being masculine and being toxic? What does competitiveness and taller and being taller and being handsome have to do with being toxic?
Because I think that when you use masculine traits and you say the extreme, when you say extreme, you just mean things that cause harm. I think that the competitive nature of men by its very nature causes harm. By its very nature, it's harm causing. Because if I'm a winner, somebody else is a loser. That's just the way that it is. That's a descriptive truth about the world. And it's really curious to me how many women think that it's very toxic for men to fall into the quote extremes of competitiveness with each other, while at the same time seem to be the most attracted to men who make a lot of money because they're very competitive with each other.
I didn't say anything about a lot of money.
Well, no, it's usually a package, right? They're usually taller than you, handsome, and they make more money than you.
Okay, but you asked me, but you're asking me what, and you readily assume that it has to be a lot of money, and you're already making a connection between competitiveness and handsomeness and being taller and competitive.
Well, hang on. Well, competitiveness and money, yeah, competition and money go hand in hand. People who have a more competitive nature make more money. That's almost universally true.
What does it have to do with being toxic, though? Is what I'm asking.
Because your version of toxic causes harm. That's what toxic means to you. Toxic?
What does being competitive have to do with causing with you're trying to
Because
say that
if you're going to win, someone's got to
disorder?
lose. If you're going to win, someone has to lose. So there's always
How
going to be
is that-
harm entailed. Grab me a pack of smokes too. There's always going to be harm entailed.
How is that harmful? That's reality though.
Yes, that's right.
Like literally, this is the problem with women. They can't understand reality, right? Because it's hard to, like, this is the thing, okay? It is reality. It is reality that a lot of this shit happens, right? This whole supposedly toxic masculinity, it's a reality. It's what is, right? This is why most men don't believe in toxic masculinity. It's just masculinity. And then when you go to extremes, it's just people, right, doing extremes. So let's say getting hurt, right? A boxer getting hurt. It's not toxic masculinity that a boxer got hurt. It's just the result. It's the reality of the occupation you chose. This is the problem with a lot of women. They seem to not be able to comprehend things correctly. You live in your own little bubble and think it's right.
You're frozen, Andrew.
Legendary screen fresh.
It is the case. When you said the key word there, but that's reality though. That's right.
Okay.
That's reality, baby. That's how it works in the real world. Men have to compete with each other. They gotta kick the tar out of each other in order to get ahead in life. And the ones who make the most amount of money doing that, who also happen to be handsome, tend to get the most women. And even if they're not handsome, they still tend to get a lot of women if they have a lot of money due to their competitive nature. And those are all things that you would consider toxic, and yet women are the most attracted to those things. So it's very bizarre to me.
That's not considered toxic. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. So, is it possible to be competitive in a company but still adhere to the ethics of a company?
Certainly.
Okay. Did you see the Wolf of Wall Street, the movie The Wolf of Wall Street?
I didn't see that movie.
It was based off of.
Yeah, I understand the concept of it.
Yeah,
Leonardo
he was
DiCaprio, this type of thing. This is not my kind of movie.
Okay, so if you saw that movie, you would see what happens when the need to be competitive and winning and money is taken to the extreme. So that is something that is a problem. If you saw the movie and you saw the behavior that I can't remember
The problem is, right? Could you be competitive by following moralities? You could. Can you be hyper competitive with following the rules of morality? But the issue is that, again, women want to control certain things, right? Women think that things can be 100% in control. You can't. Like, let's say this. Women want men to be more emotionally emote, right? But again, you can't understand that if a man constantly cries every day, he's like, oh my God, it's terrible. Well, when you open the floodgates, you open the floodgates, right? When you want a man that's emotional, and sadly, he cries to you every day, now you complain that he's too emotional. It's like, you wanted the emotion. He's like, no, I just wanted a little bit. You can't decide how little, how much you want. This is the problem with women, where they're so delusional. They live in their own little bubble. You want it how you want it, and that's the problem, okay? You want masculinity how you want masculinity. You don't get to control that. You don't get to control how much emotion you can get. You don't get to control how much a man can express his emotion. Men can't control how women can express, how much emotion a woman can express, right? You can't control that. It's like a lot of things in life, it's not necessarily, I don't know, a lab experiment, all right? Or I don't know. There's always so many variables, right? So it's not easily controlled. It's not easily contained. Okay. When someone is competitive, hyper competitive, the chance that he's moral in it isn't high, right? Hyper competitive where he wants to win.
Person that Leonardo played, but
okay. Let's explore this though, because I guarantee you it's just going to reduce back to my view. Look, I'll show you. Let me show you something.
Okay, hold on. It's Jordan Bedford. So it was a highly unethical work environment. It turned into greed, where there was he was handling his money, became illegal. Eventually, person who is competitive in the right way, but is adhering to company
He already understood your argument.
ethics versus not someone who has zero concept of ethics, integrity, and takes the concept of being competitive to an extreme. One is problematic and one is not. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Just because you are competitive or what that has to do with, because
it's just that things don't work out, and so therefore it's bad. So let's pretend
I didn't say that.
Yeah, well, you did. I'll show you how. Let's assume for a second that the Leonardo DiCaprio character, everything worked out for him. He did all the bad shit, but just like things really worked out really well for him. Is that then toxic masculinity?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly. It's not. It's no longer toxic masculinity if it all just works out well for him.
Sorry. It is toxic masculinity because at the end of the day, you are engaging in unnecessarily harmful behavior based on the extremes of what it means to be a man. So yes.
Yeah, according to who though? What makes it harmful if it all works out for you? If it all works out for you, what makes it harmful?
If you get away with crime, is that harmful?
Well, what crime? Let's just say there's no. Hang on. Let's say there's no
crimes all over the places.
Yeah. Okay. Here, hang on. Just calm down, lady. Calm down. Because he humps like 10 chicks a day. He has protected sex. He humps like 10 chicks a day. They're all willing. He makes tons of fucking cash. He's a ruthless psychopath, okay, in the way that he does business and competition, but he stays within the confines of the law. And at the end of the day, he ends up with millions of dollars, and he has a steady stream of women who come give him blowjobs every single fucking day, right? Is that toxic masculinity? Because if so, you need to demonstrate where's the harm.
Well, you said that's toxic masculinity.
No, I'm asking you, where's the harm from your definition? How is that? How would that be toxic masculinity from your view? How?
If there's no harm?
I didn't say, well, hang on. Follow along. He has a steady stream of women who come and give him blowjobs every morning. He ends up with millions of dollars. He was ruthlessly competitive, but within the confines of the law and in conformity with the ethics of the stock market, which means he made tons of trades. He was very cutthroat about it. Lots of people lost a lot of money, but not him. And he was within the confines of the ethical code. Can you tell me that's not toxic masculinity, right? Because it all worked out for him.
How is that toxic? It's not.
It's not, right? So really,
you have women there on their consent. Okay. You didn't mention that they were married or anybody. So women.
I got it. So you got women in their consent.
He's operating within the confines of the ethics of the company and the law. So what's the problem?
Totally agree. So that's not toxic masculinity. Hang on. Totally agree. So that's not toxic masculinity, which means that the view that I have, which would put a stop to all that shit, that is toxic masculinity. And because I think all that shit's degenerate.
And the thing, right? I think his character, he lost people money, and he lost himself money. Right? He lost money himself. I forgot how it ended, but I mean, I think he tax evasion too, and all this stuff. I think it was a lot of
degenerate and bad. All that shit because we consider it fucking degenerate and terrible for society because it produces terrible outcomes for society still, even though you personally don't think
that it works out for everyone. So what is the problem?
No, I said it worked out for him, but he followed the law. He followed the law. He followed the ethics. Yes, lots and lots of people lost a lot of money and they lost their houses and all sorts of things due to.
You didn't say that.
Well, hang on. The stock market. If there's winners in the stock market, there's going to be losers in the stock market. If you make 10 million, hang on, stop, lady. If you make $10 million, okay, somebody else is probably going to lose $10 million. There's winners and there's losers. And so if you are the one who's winning and other people are losing, I already told you that competition.
Yeah, I'm correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's not illegal for your stockbroker to lose you money. It's not illegal, right? I forgot what. Oh God, I forgot how he did it. That made it illegal, or made it where the the commission looked into him. Oh, God, it's been a while since I watched it. Right?
It's necessary harm from that view. So what makes it toxic masculinity, though?
Supposed to fix this problem. What about you supposed to fix?
Well,
that?
from your view, there is no problem to fix there. It's not toxic masculinity. From my view, from my view, well, okay. So from my view, what you would consider the most extreme version of toxic masculinity would stop what I just.
Okay, and you said that would be achievable by having women submit and a patriarchy, a religious patriarchy. So how? I
think that the more harmful position for women is robbing them of their fertile years in the workplace. I think that that's the much more harmful position for women. And it's the more harmful position for society because for any of these things to be possible, reproduction is necessary. It's a necessity. Humanity must continue. And so if you want to have replacement rate births, then yeah, the best thing you can do for men and women is focus on women moving towards their reproductive years being used for reproduction instead of work. So no, that's not going to be harmful to women. It's going to be both helpful to women and to men.
All
What
right,
does it have to do with
sorry to
submission?
interrupt, Leslie. We got about 15 minutes left in the open dialogue. I just want to see if you guys want to hit on any other points before I give you guys a chance to do some closings.
Yeah, I just want to point out your last statement has nothing to do with submission. Submission is about control. So I don't know what that has to do with women having children in their fertile years.
Because you haven't demonstrated that being controlled. You haven't demonstrated that being controlled is to be harmed. You're controlled right now. You're controlled by laws. You're controlled by governments. You're controlled by taxes. You're controlled by all sorts of things.
Are you controlled by that?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so then you can be controlled by your wife as well then, correct?
No, we're talking about harms. When you say that a thing is harmful, you say control or submission is control. Is control necessarily harmful or not?
Depends on the extremities of it.
That's right. It depends, doesn't it? So for you to say that just because somebody submits and therefore they're controlled, that's harmful, you need to demonstrate that claim. You can't just make it.
Okay, so it's not harmful. So you can be controlled by your wife. Is it not harmful?
Yeah, there's biological distinctions between men and women, and so the way that they engage with the world is going to be different. There's distinctions to be made. If I have the expectation, for instance, to get up at night and confront the bad guy who might break into the house, and she doesn't. So there needs to be a certain exercising of control over where I need her to be when that happens. There needs to be a certain exercising of control if there's the expectation that I'm the protector. Then there has to be an expectation of control. Otherwise, you end up with privilege. So
a woman's already a protector, though. So
how is a woman a protector of what?
Oh,
what are they protecting?
Think if a man or anybody tried to get between your wife and your child, you want to know what would happen? But your wife is a protector, correct, or is she not? What would happen if me or someone else tried to get between your wife and your child? What do you think would happen?
What do you mean? Do I think my wife would do something physical about it?
Something. Would she do
Sure,
it?
but that
Okay.
so
Is your wife responsible for raising your children?
Lord have mercy.
Your
Yeah,
wife-
let's stop. I'm going to give you yes or no's to each of these just to demonstrate how absurd this line is when I fold it
Sure.
back on you. So here we go. Yeah, I'm sure my wife would get really mad and do something about it if somebody came between me and my kid. Next one. Next question.
Okay. Is your wife solely responsible or primarily responsible for raising your children?
Sure.
If anything goes wrong, like at the school or something, who are they going to call?
My wife.
So she's a protector.
Oh, okay. Wait a second. Now I've answered all of those questions, right? Yeah, with yes or no, right? You agree that I did that. So I want you to
How
do
is
this.
she not a protector?
Hang on. So I want you to do the same thing for me. Okay.
Okay.
Got it. All right. Man breaks in at night. Who's going to confront man at night? Me or the wife?
More than likely you would.
Okay. More than likely I would. If
Yeah.
there's a serious crisis, who is going to probably be the one who's acting in that crisis for the protection of the entirety of the household? Me or my wife? Me. Got it. If it was the case that there was an issue which was going on at school with a male child that I had, which was the dominion of bullying, who do you think would be more likely to express how to deal with that bullying situation to the male child, me or my wife?
Because she's the one who's responsible for raising him. But obviously,
Well, so you made a bunch of conflation errors. The first is, yeah, okay, that's fine. The first conflation error you made is formative years. The wife is responsible for raising the children in the formative tender years, where they have to protect them from things like sticking their finger in the light socket. But the night will kill you, and the people who are out there who will kill you, they're not protecting from that. That's the men who are protecting from that.
Because I'm sorry, I mean, women can try, but women will not more than likely be successful. If a woman is taking her kid out to the park, what's the success rate of a woman protecting her child from a man? I don't think it's that high. So, I mean, she could try, she should, right? No one's saying that she should just let it happen. But that's the thing where you're just being conflating. You're conflating it.
The men are still in the domain and ultimate dominion of protection of the entire household from the major threats. So while it's true, you could make the case that women are a subclass of protectors towards people who are weaker than themselves, in this case, children. Both would be submitted to male dominance and authority because a fully adult female can have dominion over children who are the same exact thing can be stated for the dominion. Mm-hmm.
All right. So you said that you're protecting your house and your wife from like wolves and danger. How many times does that happen?
It's happened to us twice.
Okay.
Which is a lot, by the way.
Here's the thing where I really want women to, women do this a lot, right? Oh my God, you know what? She has to cook and clean for you every day. When do you protect her? Guess what, right? Here's the weakness of that argument, right? Cooking and cleaning for a man every day. It's terrible, ain't it? One protection, right? If a burglar, right, comes into your household, right? That one protection, he protects you. The likelihood of him ending his life from that one protection, you just need to do it once. That one protecting, right, outweighs a lifetime of you cooking and cleaning for him, because that one protection ends his life. You cooking and cleaning does not. Right? You cooking and cleaning, a woman cooking and cleaning does not end her life. And this is the weakness of women's argument. The magnitude of difference, all right? The magnitude of difference is astronomical. It doesn't matter how many times he has to protect you. He just has to protect you, because that one instance of him protecting you could either end his life or maim him or injure him in a serious way. Is drastically more important than you cooking and cleaning for him, than a woman cooking and cleaning for him. Women do not understand comparisons. They do not understand magnitude of differences. Literally, there's a huge difference in him protecting you and you cooking and cleaning for him.
That is a lot, because I don't know anybody who's been attacked.
Yeah. But that's a lot,
Okay.
right? And by the way, even if it was only once, or even if it never happened, but the potential is there for it to happen,
Okay.
right? It's like a parachute.
Okay.
If you don't have it and you need it, you ain't never going to need it again.
Okay. How often is your wife responsible for your child, for the well-being of your child?
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So you're comparing something that happened like once
In the formative tender
Wait a
years.
minute. So you're comparing what your act of protection.
I literally said it, right? These are the weakness. These are women's weak logic. Her supposedly taking care of the child every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is nothing in comparison of him even protecting his family once. Because him protecting his family once can end his life or drastically change his life, right? With injuries, with whatever. Her taking care of her own children 24/7, it's just her taking care of her children. It's not going to drastically change your life. It's not going to drastically injure you or kill you.
Once or twice, that you admit is a lot. That's enough to make you a protector. But your wife being 24 hours responsible for your child is not enough to consider.
Well, first of all, they're only responsible.
Okay, but I also had a second question.
Can I answer the first one?
Okay.
And then you can ask the second one. So the answer to the first question in this bizarre line of inquiry is that, yes, in the formative years, that is the case. But in the non-formative years, it's not the case. So once children reach the age of logic, they fall as much under the dominion generally of the father as they do the mother. And often as they age out, they turn to their father more for advice and things like this, and then they do mom. It's a different form of protection, right? Women, the entirety of the family. Let me ask you this. How many kids do you got?
I don't have any kids.
Okay, well, I do. So I guess, I don't know. That's been my experience. You know, I was a kid too, but I was a kid and I have kids.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
No, but I think it's kind of diminishing to say that your wife, who's responsible for your kids in the most important years of their life, does not qualify as a protector, but you do just because you happen to be a man. So
well, I'm not interested.
But I had another question for you.
Yeah, hang on. But let me answer this one real quick. Hang on. You can't say it's a diminishment for me to say what is descriptively true, because it hurts your feelings that it is in fact descriptively true. Well, hang on. How can it be?
It doesn't hurt her wife. This is the problem with women. It doesn't diminish her role, right? But it just pushes his role. This is the thing with women, right? Women need to hate on each other or hate on men to uplift them. They just don't uplift themselves. That's the problem with a lot of women. You don't know how to just uplift yourself while not taking other people down. Men don't do that, right? Men are just completely uplifting themselves because they don't care. They don't care about the people around. They're not focused on the people around. They're just uplifting themselves. His role is very big. That is it, right? Not saying that her role is very small. No, but it's just not the same, right? It's just not the same. It's not the same. His role is extremely big.
Who makes the assessment that my wife is diminished? You diminished
from 1 or 2 weeks.
Hang on. Who just?
I did, because that's
You did.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, you
And another
did.
question for you though.
Was it my wife? Hang on. Did my wife?
Have you ever hit a woman?
I don't think I have. No, maybe when I was a kid, like on a playground when I was young, like maybe, but right in the face, hard as I could.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Equal rights, equal lefts. Those are the rules. Equal rights, equal lefts.
It's fine. I agree. So we're kind of going off topic. So you mentioned that under toxic masculinity, you mentioned that suicide rates. In the topic of suicide rates, you talked about it's not just It's not just due to emotional suppression. It's not.
Yeah, there's environmental conditionals, which move into the idea of suicidality due to different social pressures which exist based around biology, not just around the fact that if these same social pressures applied to women, you'd have similar outcomes. It's that there's biological pressures which are applied because necessarily men have to take on those biological pressures. So it's not just a matter of conditionals. You need men to defend the country and build all the infrastructure and do all of that stuff. And there's necessarily going to be from enemies who want to kill you when you're sleeping.
Oh, are you in danger?
Yeah. Yes. If we didn't have a standing military full of men, yes, I would be in danger. Absolutely. In fact, I have a standing military full of men, police officers full of men, and I'm still in danger. I still ultimately have to take my own safety into account.
Okay.
And make sure that I can defend myself properly. Yes.
Well, are women and men? So are women not also in the military and also these police forces?
90%, 99% support
Are women
roles.
in the military or the police force?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
In support roles mostly, and they're ineffective in the non-support roles. It's not. No. It's not just a matter of ineffective. It's a lie. They get different standards applied to them for the same physical job. Large. There's almost no women in them. Okay. Including in the Ukraine and places like this, there's almost never any women. It's almost specifically the domain of men. Women act in support roles. They've always done that during military conflicts because they're not the protectors.
All right. So why is it necessary to have war in the first place?
Because humanity is based up in a sequence of tribes, and we're biologically hardwired to be part of a tribe. And tribes need access to resources, and resources are finite, and so tribes are going to fight over resources.
So killing is necessary for that? And
yes.
You said that.
Yes.
Okay, so I thought that the reason why men go...
I find it ridiculous, right? Where we have civilized the world way too much for women. We have civilized the world way too much for women, okay? Where women don't understand just nature itself. It's like, yes, men are not just out and out killing people every day, right? Or just in mass. So we are very civilized, but it's still a fact of nature. It's part of nature. You literally see that in almost every part of every animal species. You have to kill each other. I'm sorry. It's just part of it. Because if you want to survive, it's either you or that other person. Resources are finite, right? It's not infinite. Resources are not infinite. We don't have infinite water. We don't have infinite land. We don't have infinite money. We don't have infinite resources. It is finite. So it's either you get the resources or I get that resources. Who do you think, right? Who do you think will get it? Who wants it more? That is the thing. Women are in such a privileged position where they're not the ones to gather resources, right? Women are not the ones to gather resources. This is the insanity, right? You can see this in society right now. Why are women complaining about the gender wage gap, right? Why are women complaining about the so-called gender wage gap? Why are women complaining about every fucking thing? Because they know that they want these resources. Women know that they want these jobs, these money, all these resources, right? The housings, all this shit, because women want it too. You have to be cutthroat. You have to, it's either you get it or I get it. Who wants it more? This is the problem with so many women. We have civilized the world and made it too easy for women.
Towards to defend you or...
This is the problem. Women can't even compete. Women can't even compete. Okay? We have to make it easy for women so they can get a leg up. We have to decrease the standards. We have to make it harder for men or even push men out completely so women can compete. We have made life way too easy for women.
That's from enemies that actually countries partake in crazy things in the first place. So what?
It's both and. It can be to protect you from other tribes who want to take your resources, or it could be you killing other tribes to take their resources. But whether you like it or not, the entire world is a collection of tribes.
I can say this, right? The whole idea of racism, sexism, guess what? It is just ideologies to push away competition, right? It is ideologies to push away competition. I can't compete with you. I can't be better than you. I can't get these resources. So I need other shit to help me out. I need to talk about racism. I need to talk about sexism. I need to push racism or whatever out. So I need to push this out to say that this is why I can't compete with you.
And those tribes are all competing for resources, and resources are finite. And the United States consumes a whole lot of them. And so we end up going to war with lots of countries and blowing the fucking shit out of them so that we can take their shit. And we do it all the time.
Unnecessarily.
Well, what is necessary? I notice that you have a nice apartment there and a nice laptop. I notice that you have some nice shit. You don't seem like you're too upset about the patriarchy going out and blowing everybody up and taking their shit, because you seem to be benefiting from it.
I live in Canada in a peacekeeping, so war is not necessarily much of our mandate as it is the U.S. So maybe
the Canadians completely. What are you talking about?
Other countries and then you are.
The Canadians completely butchered all of the domestic population, took all of their land, completely acquired all of their resources, and to this day still vie in resource wars with the United States and with nations by and large. And by the way, the Canadians themselves have entered into strategic warfare on behalf of the United States for those resources.
Okay, we are as a primarily peacekeeping nation. We don't collect as many enemies as the U.S. And you were saying that the point of going to war is that we can thank our men for taking us to war.
Well, guess what? We outdo the Canadians, right? Canadians did that. Facts, yes. But here's the thing: our GDP is out. It's like it dwarfs Canadians, right? I mean, like seriously. Here's the thing: Canadians 100% benefit from being neighbors to the U.S. Right? They benefit from it. They also benefit from controlling their land. Canadian land is very rich in a lot of resources. So,
and defending us, but masculinity and war has.
How is war not? War is
always been intertwined.
Stop.
This idea of you as a man don't necessarily see why. The connections between that and maybe toxic masculinity is because you've always been led to see, well, this is what men are supposed to do, but maybe that's not absolutely necessary all the time. Maybe it's not necessary, period. If you look at
not necessary, period. You wouldn't have Canada if they didn't rob or conquer the land. You had to have I'm sorry. The victors come the spoils. It's just plain and simple. Yeah, I mean, Canada is rich with resources. So they can sustain themselves thanks to a lot of resources, but they had to conquer it. Yo, Omni, what is up, my brother? I want to do something. I forgot. Omni, last live you talked about my ex account. That is my ex. That's my ex account.
Most people regarding the Afghanistan war, most people said that it wasn't worth it. Most Americans said it wasn't worth it.
I agree.
It
wasn't worth it.
9/11, over half the country said
totally agree. I totally agree with all of that.
What's the point of that?
I mean, like, here's the thing where you expect perfection. Yes. Do humans do stupid shit? We do it all the time. Do we do useless shit? Yeah, we do it all the time. It happens. Period. I mean, like, come on. It's like, if we're not perfect, we're toxic. What the fuck? It's like, yeah, we do stupid shit. No one, it's like absolutely ridiculous.
Well, let me explain it. I'll explain. They build chips, which we need for our computer systems. That's what they do, capacity to get those chips out to you, the end user. And China invades Taiwan because they want those chips for their people. Do you think that the United States should either A, let the Chinese have all those chips alone? Which thing do you think we should do if they did that?
Well, in order to get to a point where war is not necessary, an entire cycle would have to be started, would have to be restarted, or have to be revisited. So maybe what I'm thinking is idealistic, but what I'm trying to impress upon you is how deeply embedded that elements of toxic masculinity are in not just Western society, but in societies as a whole, where we actually think that going to war and fighting and killing and
this is the problem. It's like so saying like a lion, right? Who try to takes over another pride. You're literally calling it toxic masculinity. You are immortalizing, right? Antimorphalizing or whatever, right? Animals. It's not toxic. It's not toxic. I'm sorry. It's a part of nature, right? We just do it in a different way, right? We do it in a, I don't know, a human mindset. It's just how it is, okay? You cannot talk your way out of shit. You cannot diplomat your way out of every single thing. You can't. It's just, yes, it's very idealistic, right? This is why I talk about the progressives, the liberals, the Democrats, the left so much, by how utopian their viewpoints are, right? It's beautiful. I mean, like, hell, when I was, back in the day when I was a Democrat, which, I definitely ain't anymore, it's that mindset I had, right? A very utopian mindset. I wish love, peace, and all that shit, but I realized that that's stupid. Circle of life, yeah, it's idiotic. We don't have a utopian way of life. And when you think about that, you just make yourself seem more delusional.
Engaging in violence is absolutely necessary to solve a conflict. If women were the only ones that were involved in war, it would be, well, women are emotional. They can't handle anything, and they can't handle their emotion. But because war is an act of aggression, it's an act of violence. It allows men to claim bravery. This is why maybe it's hard for some men to like you to wrap your head around the fact that maybe it's not necessary for that. But this has been so deeply embedded in cultures and societies throughout history that we can't even conceive of the fact that.
Yeah, this is a very classic feminist argument. And to steelman your argument, tell me if I get it right. Your argument is, if it was the case that women were in dominion, wars would greatly decrease because men are hardwired to believe that war is necessary when in fact it's not necessary, right? That's basically the argument.
No, my argument was if women were the ones primarily involved in war, I'm sure men would use as an excuse to say that women have an inability to control their emotions, which is why the emotional women shouldn't have their pulse on a nuclear weapons or a trigger.
Yeah, that's speculative and it's not an argument. So if you're talking about the argument itself, though, that even if what you're saying were the case, it would be irrelevant unless you can come up with some sort of structure and be the first human being who ever has as to how it could be that resources which are not grown domestically by you because you don't have the land, the fertility, or the capacity to create those resources and you need them, and somebody tells you no, what are you going to do about that, lady? Just tell me that. Tell me what you're going to do if you need resources that you yourself cannot get yourself and someone tells you no. What should we do about that?
Well,
what part of you can't get them yourself are you not getting? You can't get them yourself.
You can't build it yourself?
You're gonna, where are you going to get the uranium? Where are you going to get the, you know that not every type of...
It's impossible to set up a policy or a partnership. That's the only place.
Yeah, okay, hang on. Listen very closely to what I'm saying to you. You want to change the confines of the hypothetical, which is nice, but here's the hypothetical. There's resources you need to survive. Other place have them, you don't. They won't give them to you. Do you understand now? Repeat the hypothetical back to me so I know you get it. Another place won't give it to you and you need them. Okay. So now tell me what you're going to do about that.
There's always a way around it.
Tell me what you're going to do about it. Tell me, what's the way around it? What?
Barter.
They won't give them to you.
Under any condition.
They won't. Hang on. They won't give them to you. Won't.
Condition.
Yeah. They said no. They said no.
Putting that in your hypothetical situation, but in reality, there's always.
No. In reality, there isn't. Are we going to give Iran uranium?
I don't know. Are you?
No, we're not going to give Iran uranium. We're going to say no.
Weapons.
We're going to say no. You can't have that shit. We're going to say no. And what do you think Iran's going to do if we say no? You can't have uranium. They're going to be, oh, okay then.
Oh, but and if they offer you or they make a deal, your country's not going to accept it.
No deal. We said no. We said no under no conditions ever.
You're not interested in your uranium then. If you're not interested in making a deal or accepting a deal.
Yeah. Okay. So for you, let's go food. You trade silver for your food because you have access to silver. Okay. The other tribe that has access to the food loves trading that food for silver. But one day that tribe finds out they have a silver mine. They don't need your silver anymore. And so they're not going to deal with you anymore and give you food. You have no way to procure it on your own. Tell me what would you do? Empathy first. What would you do about that situation? Please tell me. Please.
Sometimes, like, a lot of people got to realize, women, like, she's not smart. She's not. I mean, she's absolutely idiotic. There are plenty of cases where people don't want it. Like, here's another thing, right? Here's definitely one thing where people would say no. You need land. If your population is outgrowing the land you have, what are you going to do? You can't, I mean, like, you can't pay someone else for their land because it's their land. They want it. They don't want you to have it. Why would they want to have it? Why would they want you to have it? That has happened many of times, right? Why would they give them why would they give you their land? Even for money, they don't want it because it's their land. They need it for their people, right? It's happened throughout history, right? My land is for my people. Why should I give you my land? You give me money, so what? You're gonna if I give you my land for money, what are my people gonna have? Right? So many times throughout history, nations have said, no, you can't have my land. You can't have my land. You can't have my territory because I need it for my people. Well, there are certain other people that said, no, I want that territory. I want that land because I need it for my people. You don't want to pay. You don't want the money for it? Fine. We'll go to war for it. That has happened throughout history. TBD, what is up, my brother? How have you been? I was wondering if you're okay. I just got my weapon systems attribute system working so I can modify fire rate and such with attachments. What? What are you talking about? You got a gun or something? I know. It's like, what? I mean, like, bro, is that a gun? Because I thought the UK's you're not allowed to have a gun. Or are you talking about a game?
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. You have to repeat that again because I lost.
Tribe 2 has access to silver, but not much food. Okay, so they have this trade relationship, but then Tribe 2 one day finds out and discovers they have a silver mine. They don't need Tribe 1 silver anymore. So they don't.
Oh, you've been making a game. Yo, okay. So that's what you've been doing with your time. Oh, that's pretty cool. I love that. I love that.
Don't bother selling food to them anymore. So Tribe 2 now can't get food. What would you, as the leader of Tribe 2, do if Tribe 1 says, no, we're not going to give you any more food. We're not going to trade with you anymore because we don't need to. What would you do?
As a leader of Tribe 2, I would not have waited until that became a problem. Because
This is the problem. Don't change the hypothetical.
No,
this is the problem. What would you do?
You asked me what I would do.
Yeah, what would you do?
Waited to the point where I am left with no options. Because
yeah, great, but you're there. You're at that point. You're there though.
One basket.
You're already there. You're already in the situation. Now tell me what you do about it. What are you gonna do about it?
Well, you have to find another option.
What?
That's not the only place in the world. It's impossible.
It's the only place in the world that this tribe can get food.
That's not a realistic hypothetical.
It's the most realistic hypothetical. Do you want to talk about Native Americans and where they got their food?
Yeah, tell me.
They got it from the United States government when they were put on reservations. And the United States government, what they would do if the natives pissed them off is they'd stop giving them food. So what would you, as the Native Americans, have done about that, lady?
The Native Americans were natural hunters. They weren't able to hunt their own food.
No, we owned all of the hunting rights to these lands.
So in that instance, the only place that the Native Americans can get food is from the government who is refusing to. So at that point, you need to sit down and say, what do I need to do to procure food for my people? So seeing as how,
and what would that be? What would that be? What would you do about it? What?
Well, let's have a discussion and find out. I don't know.
They did, and you know what? They had a great discussion, and they sat down and they went, "What do we do about it?" And the women went, "We don't fucking know. There's no solution." And what the men did is they went and they started fucking killing people and taking the food. And then you know what? It actually led to better conditions for the Indians because they did that, because they showed they had a little teeth, had some backbone, you know. But that's the problem with this this whole mindset from the empathy first women, the insane empathy first women. You don't seem to understand that you're not always dealing with good actors in this world. You're not always dealing with reasonable, rational people. You're not always dealing with people who even care about your interests, and they will eliminate supplies to you just to give themselves an advantage. So what are you going to do about that?
Okay, the level of need for survival at the time period that you're talking about is not the same as it is today. There are more access to resources. There's more access to resources now. So
because we kill more people for them.
To say that there are we as a
to say that it's not the same today. Guess what? This is why women are stupid. You negate. I said this. We have made the world way too advanced, way too safe for women. We have made the world way too civilized for women. This is why we have feminists that have such low IQ, right? We have given them so much privilege that has made them stupid by nature.
Country are limited to the same access, to the same poor access to resources as Native Americans were back in the time period is unrealistic. The need
Yeah, literally the UK did it, right? The UK couldn't procure certain resources. Guess what they did? They conquered for it. That was the start of colonialism. I mean, it's just how it is.
For survival then was not what
Do you think that the
Say we hit the hour about 5 or so minutes ago, but
I want to keep going.
that's what I was just going to ask. Because
Yeah.
I'm down to extend it as long as you guys are still down. to
Yeah.
answer
So
the
I want to
Q&A.
keep going. Yes, let's just take the United States as an example of this. Do you think that the United States procures resources through its imperial hegemonic might by
I totally agree. Most modern women have too much time to think up stupid ways to be more stupid. Exactly.
using a massive navy, a huge military, and eliminating those who tell us no?
I think they have.
They do, right this second.
Yeah,
Yeah. And do you think that Canada goes right alongside of that and is a trade partner with the United States and gets an abundant amount of resources from the United States, taking those resources from other nations at gunpoint?
I think Canada is a trade partner.
Yeah, and they directly benefit from the hegemonic policies of the United States, which at gunpoint take the shit that they want, and you can't say no because they're a hegemon. Now, I got to tell you, how is it that you, if you're in charge of everything, and you have resources that you really need, I don't think you even have any idea how hard it is to make the microchip that runs the freezer that you have behind you in this.
The audacity when women say they don't need men. The audacity. This woman literally proved, right? This woman, this feminist, literally proved why women need men. You don't know shit. You don't know shit.
Picture, but these are extremely rare earth minerals that go into all of this from all over the world.
Mhm.
And if one of those places decides not to trade with you, what are you going to do about it that doesn't lead to a bad outcome for those people? What?
Why would that country not decide to trade?
It doesn't matter why. Let's just
I definitely think the UK is kind of sad, right? Yvonne, what is up, my girl? Ivan, what is up? It's been a long time seeing you, my brother. I hope you're doing well. It is kind of sad what's happening to UK. The UK has become very useless as a nation. UK was used to be a top power, right? They were a powerhouse of a nation. Now they are nothing.
say they do. They have like an ideology. I don't know. Maybe they become communists overnight or source that we need, and they ain't going to give it to us no more. What are you going to do about that that doesn't cause any harm to those people? What?
Well, the answer to that cannot be to invade and kill a bunch of people.
I didn't ask you what the answer isn't. I asked you what the answer is that is not going to cause harm for those people.
Well, that's not something that I would respond to on the top of my head. I'm
Hustling, grinding. I love it, my brother. Definitely promote it, right? Just like TBD, guys, I promote it. Work hard, grind, focus on yourself.
not an expert on foreign policy. I'm not an expert in politics.
It's because there's nothing.
I agree. I mean, it's never too late, right? I mean, well, I'm not saying it's never too late, right? But it could be too late, right? So I definitely think that, there is time. There is time for the UK to step up and, take control. Steve, what is up, my brother? I always love seeing you.
There's nothing you can do that won't cause harm to them. Nothing.
If you were to ask maybe an expert on global relations and foreign policy, they would probably be able to give you a more substantial answer why why there are other ways to approaching that matter than just to invade a country and kill and bomb a bunch of people.
I'm not even talking about killing or bombing them. I'm asking for any solution that is not harmful to that people group. Any.
Are you saying that the only solution to that is war?
No, I'm saying that there's no solution that you can come up with which won't be directly harmful to that people group if they don't want to give you the resources you want. Not one. You can't put in tariffs because that'll harm them. Okay? You can't put in naval. Hang on. My turn. You can't put in naval blockades because that'll harm them. You can't send in the military because that'll harm them. You can't cut them off from their other trade partners because that'll harm them. Literally everything that you do to rectify that situation is going to cause harm. So maybe you're the most toxically masculine person here. Or maybe toxic masculinity isn't that much of a problem.
No, but I was supposed.
You see that? You see his ending? His answering then? This is the problem with women right here. It's just how it is, right? It's an is. Okay? Stop making things toxic masculinity bullshit.
On the fact that war cannot be the only answer to handling every single problem, or to be the answer to
I didn't say war.
But
I didn't say war.
Yeah, but I did. That's what I was focused on.
That's nice, but I'm asking you an unrelated question to this.
You asked me how I would approach that problem. I said I am not an expert in global policy.
I'm not even.
But here's the thing: war is usually an absolute, right? So all this thing, tariffs, blockades, all this shit that you could do that's excluded from war. Guess what? It's not an absolute. No country, right? Well, if you bomb and look at this, right? A perfect example: Japan. Such a small ass nation, terrified the whole of Asia, right? And they went up against America. Guess what we did? We bombed them, stopped them immediately. We changed them completely, right? With one action, we changed them completely. It's just how it is, okay? You effed around, you found out. Usually, war is just an absolute, okay? War is an absolute. All these tariffs, all these other things, the diplomacy, all that shit is nice. It's cute. It's trying your best not to, hurt people or kill people, but those are not absolutes, right? Those are, measures that you want to do to avoid the war, because wars are absolutes.
Listen,
policy or things. So you would have to ask somebody.
Just listen to what I'm asking.
Get a proper answer.
I'm asking how it could even be the case that if a country does not want to give you a resource that you need or really desire, how you can make an imposition of your will at all without it harming them. How is that even possible?
You keep mentioning things about it's not going to harm. Harm will be inevitable, but I am focused on the idea that it does not have to resort to war.
But just harms.
The point, pardon me?
I thought the whole point was to reduce harm. So it seems like if it's the case,
that you're flipping to another.
I'm not. I'm going to tie it all together. Hang on. I'm going to tie it. I'm going to tie it all. Is when you take masculine things to their extreme, and that causes harm. In this case, you are taking a bunch of men who are in negotiations with other men. One group of men is being perceivably unreasonable to the other, even though they're not. I think that it's perfectly acceptable for men to say, I have this resource and our country has this resource, and we don't want you to have it because it's ours. And the other group of men, in this case, the ones that you're with, anything that they do now.
Yo, Steve has a project? What project? Guys, you should talk this in the chat. I didn't know about any project. I would love to hear it, right? Share it. Share in the chat. Steve, what's your project? I love to hear about these things, right? TBD is doing a game. I love listening to what you guys are doing.
To acquire that resource is going to cause harm to people group number 2. No matter what, it's going to cause some kind of harm to them. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. Either the case is that you want to reduce harm, or you only want to reduce harm when it's not beneficial to you. Which one is it?
I think that's a stretch. And
I don't think it's a stretch.
Your argument. I don't think that has anything to do with what we're talking about.
I think it does. I think it's a perfect encapsulation.
Wolves, what is up? What is up? Asking nicely doesn't always work. I agree. Thank you for stopping by, Wolves. Yes, asking nicely doesn't always, like, diplomacy is great, right? It's nice and all, but it's foolish, right? It's foolish. I mean, I'm not saying it's completely foolish, but it's if you're coming into a table with 2 reasonable people, okay, right? They want something, you want something, cool. The problem a lot of time is that usually one person doesn't want anything from you, and the other person does, or the other person wants something that's absolutely extreme, right? Say for instance, I think hypothetically Japan wanted like all of Asia, right? Japan wanted to rule all of Asia. Who's gonna like negotiate that shit?
Of everything that we're talking about, because you believe that toxic masculine behavior is bad, but it seems that it benefits you quite a bit, especially when it comes to the fact that we will introduce harm.
Preparedness-based podcast. Oh, that's interesting. So you are going to re-upload prepper podcasts onto YouTube? Starting up a YouTube channel with them. That's interesting.
Other people groups to get you the fucking resources that you love so much.
Are you big bars? You're writing a book too? Guys, I love this, right? I love it. I love my brothers they're doing shit. That's what I'm saying. I love it. I love that you guys are doing things. That's awesome. That's really awesome. I really love it. I love it when my brothers are, they got shit done. They got shit doing.
The second you hit the Starbucks in the morning, that's because of toxically masculine men who are out there oppressing the shit out of half the world. And that's the fucking truth. And it's like, I don't see you with picket signs.
It's interesting. I mean, to be honest, I mean, would we even get the Japan we have now if Japan, you know, ruled all of Asia? I don't know. I mean, would we? I think I'm pretty sure anime, you know, came after, you know, the whole you know, bombing thing. So would we get what we got of all that? If I didn't have Eddie and Omnis help, it would be. Oh, that's awesome, guys! Hell, this is what I think. Where I always love it, right? You guys, again, all three of you guys get together and make a channel. That's awesome too. Being a woman myself, I have a problem with illogical women like this is evil things. Amazing wolves, a woman. I love it. I this is what I said. There's plenty of smart ass women around here. Plenty. I've met, like, I won't be biased. Almost all the women that follow me are smart ass women. Right? All the women that follow me are smart ass women.
In front of Starbucks saying, hey, no, I don't want this fucking coffee because it, you know, hurts fucking third worlders in cobalt mines somewhere. People don't give a shit because they're the beneficiaries of the resources. So all this talk about toxic masculinity is well and good until we apply it socially and we find out that women, when they're the beneficiaries of it, seem to fucking love it just fine.
Okay, so and of course your version of toxic masculinity is supposed to fix this. Since this is a problem.
She should understand the sarcasm, but his view of religion, patriarchy, yeah, that's what he thinks.
Well, I don't think that that's a problem in and of itself. I think from your worldview, that's considered, again, descriptively, we are groups of tribes who are competing over resources. And sometimes in order to give our tribe leverage, we have to withhold resources from other people, which is going to hurt them.
Okay, do you think that do you think it's problematic that we may be...
I want to say thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here. You guys are amazing. Please like the stream. Please like the stream if you guys could. Subscribe, comment, check out my other videos if you love it.
reliant on a system that...
What the F is the patriarchy? It's, you know, men as leadership.
Where violence is necessary to access resources that we need?
No, not only do I not think that that's a problem, I think that that is the necessary default of humanity, because we are pack animals, and pack animals create tribes. Monkeys do this. Other animals do this. They create packs. They have their own tribes. And what happens when two monkey tribes meet each other when there's resources? They fight. That's what happens. Now, we have the ability of higher authoritative reasoning. We can
I think I agree with Evo Eddie.
Actually make predictive models over the fact that people are going to fight us over resources, but it doesn't matter. We need the resources anyway, and so we're going to kill them and take them. And that's the truth of the world. Now, women don't seem to like that truth very much. They seem to think that, no, let's just all be nice to each other, and then everyone will play nicey and trade. No, that's not how it works, because women can never and have never been able to demonstrate for me, even once, how they could ever hold any unison of tribes together without one tribe hurting the other for resources, because it can't be done. It's not, it literally, pragmatically cannot be done.
Sorry, it can't be done that women cannot...
Women cannot unify the world. I'm sorry. Stop living in your delusion, right? You cannot unify the world. You can't. Even in the US, we have women battling men. We have white people battling black people. We can't even get together in our own nation. And you think that we can, unify the whole fucking world? You're kidding me, right? I mean, the way, like, you think about this, right? China, one time in China's history was they were a divide, the warring states. They were literally a dividing nation, right? Many of small tribes, many small kingdoms. They went to war for years to unify that. It had to go through war, right? It's just how it is. They went to war to unify a whole nation. You cannot diplomat your way into unification.
Cannot enforce...
UK was the ultimate unifier.
Society ever in which, even if they had unilateral control, women had unilateral control, they would be able to do anything distinct from, I need resource, person won't give it to me, now I have to make some choices that people aren't going to like very much. I either have to kill them and take their resources, or I have to apply some sort of pressure on that people group to get those resources. Both of those things are going to cause harm. I don't consider that toxically masculine. In fact, I consider that the default setting.
Okay, well, my response to that is, yes, there are examples of women who have done that in the past, but obviously, again, you are dealing with a time when survival was significant in a way that is not now.
No, it's more. Listen, now it's even worse because trade is global. Now we have access to way more tribes, and they have way more resources that we need for modernity.
It's not harder to survive now than it was 2,000 years ago.
I'm not saying that it's harder to survive. I'm talking about resource allocation. We use more resources now than we did 2,000 years ago too, right?
Okay.
So if that's the case, they have to come from somewhere. And if those people don't want to give them to us, we're going to have to make some hard choices, aren't we? You want endless examples? Let's start with World War II. Let's just start with World War II and what happened with the Japanese and the cutting off of oil to the Japanese. And now they had a choice that they had to make. Oh, wait, are we going to have no oil for any of our nation? Or are we going to go to war with the United States by sinking their Pacific fleet? That was the choice that they had to make. And then ultimately, the retaliation to all of that had to end up being a fucking nuke in order to put a stop to that entire thing. So it's like, yes, in fact, I can point to resource scarcity or resource trading being a prime edict in almost every war, including the American Revolution, which was fought mostly over resources and landholdership and had nothing at all to do with my freedoms. So it's like, yes, I can point to endless examples of this being the case.
Thank you guys, all you guys, for being here. I love it. I love it that, you know, so many people are here checking me out. Thank you for the support. Thank you for checking me out. I love you guys.
Okay, so if war is the only way that's necessary, then
war isn't the only way that's necessary. Okay, it's like not everything we do when we interact with each other is war. Okay, but the problem is that women think that war is such a terrible thing. It is not. It's not a good thing, but it's part of human. It's part of humanity. I'm sorry, right? Fighting, battling, all this shit. It's part of humanity. It is because. Again, at the end of the day, if we're not all unified, then we all do our own separate things. To interact with each other, you know, war can happen. War has happened.
If that's the case, then there should be no argument against going to war. If that's the only way to,
you can make moral arguments.
And you say that, well, women are the empathetic ones, and then that's why we're too nice to consider war as a response. But then there should be no man who is against the concept of going to war. They should always.
There's not really any men who are against the concept of going to war. It just depends on the justification of the reasons for going to war. But if you ask men, by and large, if you ask them this question, do you think that it's justified to go to war with people who have a resource which is necessary for our civilization to continue to go? Most men will actually say yes. They don't live in la la land. They don't live in empathy first mode. Men intuitively understand that this is the case and this is the fact of the world. If it was the case that only one country produced all of the oil for the United States, and we said we're going to go to war with them so that we can get access to oil again, almost everybody in the United States who was a man would be completely understanding of said proposition.
Every single man right now is in agreement with you being in war, right? The U.S. right now being in war with Iran.
No, we're talking about.
No, because we don't need to, right? There's no law. I said this, right? There's no reason for us to care about Ukraine, Palestine, Israel, Iran. We shouldn't give a fuck about them. We shouldn't care about what's happening in Africa. We shouldn't care about this, right? The only thing we should care about is, to be honest, ourselves, right? We should only care about ourselves. Hell, I mean, to be honest, I understand more why we cared about the Western Hemisphere, right? About Venezuela, maybe even Cuba. I can understand that. But outside of the Western Hemisphere, we shouldn't be giving a shit. So there's no logic, or there's logic in it. I understand why. I understand why we care, right? I just think that we don't need to, right? So if you ask most Trump supporters, they don't agree with his reasoning for war. They don't. Now they understand it. They say that, you know what, it's just one bad point in, you know, being fine with Trump, because again, the right understands that nobody's perfect. The right, this is the problem with the left. It's perfection or bust, okay? Which is kind of funny because no one on the left is perfect. But when it's your side, right? When it's the right, you need to be perfect or you're failing. The the right understands that no, he's not perfect. It's fine, right? It's understandable. We don't love it, but again, we still rather pick him over Kamala. It's just how it is. But they can be critical, but not agreeing with Trump 100%. I'm a big proponent of. I mean, I'm I'm definitely against Trump's foreign policies, but I would 100% rather pick Trump over Kamala. Sean, what is up, my brother? What is up?
Necessary conditions versus unnecessary ones.
Well,
So there's unnecessary justifications for the war in Iran. And so that's fine and that's true. So in that case, you're looking at resource allocation versus resource gained, and you weigh those two options and you find out there's not much justification there. But the problem happens when there is justification there because you need those resources. Let me give you a couple of nations where that's the case. Greenland is one where we want the resources that are there, in this case, strategic resources. Taiwan is another one where we want the strategic resources. There's many nations which are this way, and many places in which we put ourselves in key location for resource allocation. It's all about the resources at the end of the day. It's all about money and it's all about resources.
So Greenland, the issue with Greenland and resources is you want a country to surrender their sovereignty to a country just because one says, well, I want your resources.
No, it's not a matter of want. If I was a Greenlander,
some kind of a partnership where the U.S. benefits from access to resources, the Greenland benefits from them being able to provide resources that does not involve war.
Yeah, great. I would love that. That sounds fantastic. Yeah. But if it's not the case, and Greenland did, let's just say they had element 0, and element 0 was necessary for our power grid to run or something like this.
You don't need to go to war for that.
Unless they won't give it to us.
You don't need to go to war for that.
Okay, well, how do you acquire element 0 if another country won't fucking give it to you?
You're presenting a hypothetical situation. There is no way that that the only way to access resources from a country is war, and that there's no way that a country will be staunchly against giving a country resources. There is always a way around.
It happens all the time. What are you talking? Happens.
That's what you get experience.
Lady, that happens all. It happens all the time. It happens all the time where country A won't give country B resource. Country B get pissed off. Country B go and take resource because they can't apply pressure to get the resource any other way. It's the most common theme in all of human history. This country over here, this tribe over here, this person over here has shit that I need, and I can't get it because he won't give it to me, and I can't negotiate for it.
This is this woman's just proving why women shouldn't lead, which is a sad thing, right? It's a sad thing, but it's a reality. She's literally proving why women shouldn't lead. This is why women shouldn't lead the family. I'm sorry. Women are meant to be a helpmate. They're meant to be your vice president while you are the president. It's just how it is. I'm sorry. This is why women are meant to be helpmates. They are meant to be the vice president to your presidency, right? Because women don't have the temperament for leadership. Women don't have the temperament for leadership. They don't have the mindset for leadership. Now, they have great perspectives, right? But again, lack leadership temperament.
Because you won't negotiate.
This problem is to get you to accept that there's a different way to doing something. But if all you have been exposed to is the idea of a country, I want this, I say I want this, there's nothing you can do about it. The only response to that is war and the innocent killing of men and women and children.
Yeah, great. I'll tell you what. I'll hold my breath while you give me an alternative system to the default setting of all of humanity.
I'm sure that there's some kind of a think tank.
I have been debating with
that are
there's not. Look,
this could be a good time to go into closings.
Hang on, real quick though. I've been debating this with progressives for years and years, lady, years. And I've asked all of them the same question, whether they're in government, not in government, they're in high positions of government, they're part of think tanks. None of them have any solution to this problem because not everybody in the world of 8 billion people, including nation heads, are reasonable actors or rational actors. Muslims in the Middle East who are religious zealots are not necessarily going to be rational actors when it comes to their resource allocation. Okay? North Korea and the Chinese may not be rational agents if they have other agendas. Nobody has a solution to the ancient problem of need resource, can't get, gonna kill then. And neither do you. You don't have a solution either.
And that's true, right? She's in fantasy land. This is why, I'm sorry, women need men to ground them. Right? I've said this before. We need each other. Men and women need each other. Women give men a different perspective. It's always a good thing to have different perspectives. But the purpose of a leader is to ground things, right? A great leadership quality is to ground perspectives, right? Is to have thought experiments, right? It's to be able to understand the world, right? It's being more realistic. This is why women can't be leaders. They are meant to be helpmates. This woman is idiotic, right? She's delusional.
It's funny that the countries that you mentioned are also countries that have high instances of toxic masculinity embedded in those cultures. So I'm asking you, do you not see a connection between?
You mean the Scandinavian?
About the Muslim nations, and you were talking about some of the Asian nations that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that, are you not seeing a connection between the fact that these are nations where toxic masculinity has been proven statistically to be embedded in these cultures?
Yeah.
They're cultures that historically men have been the leaders of these nations throughout history historically. So
let me just, I get it.
Intertwined with masculinity. Toxic masculinity is connected, deeply embedded in the cultures of the countries that you just mentioned. Males have been in positions of leadership over the past.
The problem, she's long-winded, but her being long-winded doesn't help her argument, right? She doesn't explain things well. She doesn't really elaborate that well. So her being long-winded, it's like she's just repeating the thing, but it doesn't really help her argument.
How many centuries? Are you not seeing a connection between?
So then let me just ask you I'll just ask you a simple question.
War is a reason why that is always seen as the option to solve.
How would you deal with these toxically?
I'm just asking you.
And I'm going to answer your question.
Hold on, I'm just asking you if you see the connection, yes or no.
No, there's no. That's not the connection. Let's make it simple.
No connection between the fact that
there's no what you call toxic masculinity. No,
toxic masculinity embedded in.
Lady, you have to stop talking.
Yeah, we can't have both people talking at the same time. Or
I'm trying to. You can't both ask the question continuously and hear the answer. You can't do both. So first of all, I don't consider much of this toxic masculinity. That's your worldview. I consider it the default setting of humanity. Secondly, though, even if I granted it, how would you deal with any of these, quote, toxically masculine nations without relying on toxic masculinity itself? How can that even be done? Like, how are you going to deal with these guys who are like, you know what? Fuck it. Women are second-class citizens and they're in fucking grape cages forevermore. We're just going to put them in cages and sexually assault them whenever we want. How are you going to deal with that absent turning to toxic masculinity yourself?
We're not gonna be able to diplomat our way to get the Middle East to treat women like equals, right? We are not going to talk our way into getting, I don't know, Russia to not invade Ukraine. We're not. It's like, seriously, we're not gonna. It's absolutely ridiculous.
How?
Okay, so before I respond to that, I just want to make a statement that I am not the one that is making a connection between toxic masculinity in these countries. This is not my personal opinion. This came out in a research report that I mentioned in my opening statement. So this has actually statistically been proven, and these links have been made, and they
bullshit. That's all definitional. That's all definitional. That doesn't make it reality.
Reports, so it's not just my opinion.
Okay, no. Hang on. Stop. I'm going to demonstrate this for you because this is a really important point. Okay, if I say putting your shirt on in the morning, I define that as sexual assault. Our sexual assault case is going to drastically increase in the data because that's how I define it. Yes, of course they are. These people define, they say definitionally this is toxic masculinity when it's in fact not toxic masculinity. So when you rely on those statistics, they're only definitional. And so they're practically, for all purposes, useless because of all the conflating variables that go into it that have nothing to do with masculinity taken too far, but rather resource allocation and humanity fighting over it like they've done for 10,000 years.
So what in your definition of masculinity makes yours more valid than the definition that I provided?
Virtues.
So what's your definition?
I think that masculinity and femininity
toxic masculinity.
Yeah, well, for me, I don't believe that there's toxic masculinity.
This is the problem with women. Men don't believe in that shit. Men don't believe in toxic masculinity. You are you have a brick for a brain, right? Men are arguing your worldview. It doesn't mean that he believes it, right? I don't believe there's a such thing as toxic masculinity. Right? Killing someone, right? A man killing another man isn't toxic masculinity, right? It's a fucking criminal behavior. Okay? That's not toxic masculinity. Men, real men, don't believe in toxic masculinity. There's masculinity, femininity. If you beat someone up to death, it doesn't mean that you're a toxic man, right? It means that you're a fucking criminal. That's it. This is the problem with women. This is the problem with modern day women of modernity, right? This is the problem with women. You want to label everything like toxic masculinity, right? It's like misogyny, all that shit. You want to put these things, anything that a man does, you want to put a label to it so you can hate on men. That's the problem with women right there, where women are doing shit so they can insult men, hate on men, push men into like fucking, I don't know, this view that they have of all men. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There isn't. Stop it with that bullshit. A man that cheats isn't toxic masculinity, because if you say that shit, a woman that cheats is a toxic masculine. It's like, what the fuck is that? So a man cheats is toxic masculinity. A woman cheats is toxic femininity. So wouldn't you just say that, you know what? It doesn't matter about the fucking femininity or the masculinity part. It's just that you're toxic, right? So it's not gender based. Women want to put gender to every fucking thing. It's not gender based. You're just a terrible person. That's it. You're a terrible person. Stop equating this shit. Being feminine or masculine is neither good nor bad, right? It doesn't have those connotations to it. It's neither good nor bad. So when women put toxicity into it, they're trying to make it out to be bad, because feminists are trying to attack you. They're trying to attack masculinity in general. That is the stupidity of it, right? Being a man doesn't make you bad. Being a woman doesn't make you bad. It's a lack of morality. It's a lack of values, right? So that is people specific, not gender specific. This is the problem with a lot of modern day feminism. This is why this side, I want to combat that. I don't believe being born a woman, right, makes you terrible. I definitely don't believe being born a man makes you terrible. It's whether you lack or have any values, principles, standards, morality at all. Human, right? It's human. Human we're talking about, right? Human nature, human problems. I hate it when we equate things to race, to gender. That is fucking stupid.
You said you were going to fix it because you called yourself.
Yeah, I consider those to be progressive traits. I don't consider that to be toxic masculinity.
He was being sarcastic when he said that. I'm sorry. Why are you so stupid? You couldn't understand the sarcasm. He's just saying it's toxic because people like you, right? Progressive, the left, Democrats, liberals, they consider Christianity as toxic, right? The patriarchy as toxic. I don't view men in leadership or religion as toxic itself.
I consider those to be progressive traits. I think that toxic masculinity is a nonsense term made up in regards to completely nonsensical actions, which have nothing to do with anything but degeneracy and have very little to do with masculinity at all.
Yeah, and in your response, and you said that you actually epitomize the what real toxic masculinity is, and your
from your view, yes,
from your concept is going to fix it.
No, from the view of
what is your definition of toxic?
This is the problem when your opponent doesn't even understand what you're talking about, right? She couldn't understand the toxicity. She couldn't understand the sarcasm. She couldn't understand he's using her view against her, right? He's using her example, her view. He doesn't believe all the shit he says as toxic, but she would, or her side would.
Masculinity.
Okay, let me try again. I don't think that toxic masculinity is even a thing. I don't even believe it's a thing, okay? But from your view, where you believe it's a thing, I would be in the camp of the most toxically masculine under the patriarchal Christian church. You would also consider this other subgroup of the Andrew Tates of the world to be toxically masculine. Both of us, you would consider to be toxically masculine. I'm saying if you want to solve this problem here, you're going to have to rely on this toxic masculinity. And if you want to solve this toxic masculinity over here, you're going to have to rely on this toxic masculinity from your view. I don't even believe in this shit. I think it's fucking nonsense. I think you're just taking default human behavior and assigning a bunch of bullshit to it. And then when pressured on the scope of it, it just comes down to harm reduction, which you can't even keep consistent.
Okay, so I'm asking you, what then was the version of toxic masculinity that you were referring to that is supposed to fix this problem that makes it not problematic? If,
Oh, my
if
Lord.
you don't believe it's sick, if you don't
Religion. He believes, again, it's about morality, right? The toxicity part is lack of morality, lack of principles, lack of structure, lack of a foundation, right? I'm sorry, this is why this woman is stupid, right? This is, if you can't even understand logic when you're in a debate, you're stupid, right? That's the problem. He believes if other men, other people, right, have a more moral standing, it will combat other people's lack of morals.
believe it exists.
Let's say that there's a chocolate bar, okay? And I say, this is a Snickers bar, and you say it's a Butterfinger bar, okay? We're both pointing at the same chocolate bar. Do we both agree that that's a chocolate bar, but we could be wrong about what kind of chocolate bar it is?
Okay.
Okay. That's what's going on here. I'm saying this group is problematic. You're claiming this group is both problematic and toxically masculine. I'm claiming they're just problematic and not toxically masculine at all, and that's just some bullshit term that's completely fabricated and made up, which has nothing to do. And when
I know, I was like, yo, I'm in my 40s. I didn't think, I've never heard the word patriarchy, toxic masculinity, misogyny until what, like 10, 15 years ago, I think, maybe. It's like, we didn't even use these words, right? It is this new generation of stupid ass people that push these words to the forefront, particularly feminists, right? Particularly stupid ass modern day feminists. It's like absolute idiot.
it's not even consistent. I'm saying this group over here, which you also would consider toxically masculine, can solve the problem of this group over here, or vice versa. So you would endlessly rely on toxic masculinity to solve the very problem of toxic masculinity. That's my point.
Okay, so my point is that I think what you just said is that I think one group is problematic, but
Yo, I love that, Steve. She's lost and is not man enough to admit she is wrong.
then at least being toxic. I do not think that masculinity is a problem.
This is a thing where this is a trait of women, or not all women, plenty of smart ass women, but I think a lot of women like this, where you have a hard problem admitting wrong. I think, in my opinion, right, not just women, anyone, right, who is not in control of their emotions have a hard time admitting when they're wrong, right? When you are not emotionally logical, or emotionally stable, right, in control of your emotions, you have a hard time admitting when you're wrong.
But toxic masculinity,
And man, Andrew smokes like a fucking chimney. The guy's like, he's a insane smoker.
the reason why I refute that it does exist is because when you look at the traits that are associated, when you look at how masculinity is defined, and then you look at what constitutes toxic behavior, and when you look at what happens when you combine the definition of toxic with masculinity, which is the traits that are commonly that society associates with men.
This is a thing where I really want to do, right? Masculinity, right? Traits with masculinity. Emotional stoicism, right? Suppressing vulnerability, fear, and sadness. Physical strength. They're valuing physical power, endurance, athleticism. Provider, protector, placing a high social value on financial success and defending one's family. Autonomy, emphasizing extreme self-reliance and independence. A lot of things, what society, categorize as masculinity. I don't know what,
We find that toxic masculinity.
I love it. You know what? See, this is why Wolf says she's close to 70. This is what they said, right? Modern day women don't even compare to old school women, right? Modern day women do not compare to, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers. They do not, right? They do not compare to old school women. They don't. It's like, I'm sorry. I think old school women may not have the level of education that modern day women is, but modern day women show that education does not mean you're smart, right? I think old school women were more logical, right? They were more sound. They were more wise, right? They're wise. Right? They understood that, experience is very important. I think the degrees of modern day women are going to their head. Having a degree 100% doesn't make you smart.
Is a problem because of its several byproducts, and I listed several of them.
Really come up with by you. And
No,
when
not by me. I listed
it doesn't matter who, then you're just appealing to an authority, which is fallacious in and of itself. You can't just because they have to arbitrarily define what this type of harm is that they're trying to reduce. There's no system or methodology from it. It's just behavior we don't like is this. And I'm like, no, it's not a problem that Andrew Tate uses masculinity in order to attract lots of women. I don't care. I don't think that that's toxic. I don't care that he descriptively claims that you need to make sure that you're ready to defend yourself, or that life is a game of resources and there's going to be lots of competition and things like this. I'm saying that the degenerate aspects of things that I want to stop have nothing actually to do with masculinity at all. It's just pure, it's degeneracy. And so that's where I would move in to put a stop to it. But I don't believe it has to do with masculine traits at all. Nothing. So therefore, toxic masculinity by me is completely rejected. It's a nonsense term. It's meaningless to me because it's never defined by any metric that can't be easily reduced to complete absurdity on its face quickly, like I've done here multiple times.
Leslie, I want you to respond to that, but then I do got to get it into the super chats here, so these guys aren't waiting too long. I don't know if Leslie has a hard cutoff though here. So if you guys want to do like a 2 to 5 minute quick closing.
Yeah, I can close real quick, and we can move into super chats if you want. So like, to be fair, it could have been. It sounds like maybe English isn't your first language. Maybe is that the case? Yeah.
Yes, I'm English is my first language.
Oh, it is? Okay. I'm sorry, then I got that wrong. But there seemed to be some linguistic differences, even though I cleared up the semantics multiple times. And I wanted to point out multitudes of examples where
she couldn't comprehend. That's the problem, right? She couldn't logically comprehend your views.
That my opponent has to eat is like, we got to get rid of boxing and basically all team sports. Right? Basically all dominant, aggressive team sports, we're going to have to get rid of them, or at least put a face mask on when he boxes, and we find out that Leslie has no solutions there at all to combat toxic masculinity. In fact, she's completely reliant on it. So reliant on it, in fact, that she has no refutation for any of the points for any of my descriptive claims, except to just grant that they're descriptively true. No, there's always another way. No, there's not always another way. That's just made up nonsense that the historic standard doesn't support at all. Not only that, you have this other problem, which is that you're going to always have to appeal to one toxic masculine group in order to shut down another toxic masculine group. There's not a damn thing you can do about that. So in most ways, you would be reinforcing whatever she considered toxic masculinity to be, because she would have to rely on groups of toxically masculine males to stop groups of toxically masculine males. She doesn't have a choice. So it becomes circular anyway. When we got into the ideas of attraction and reproduction, and that women tend to move towards toxically masculine men, she hardly ever put up a fight. And why would she? Right? She herself is attracted to masculine men who seem to have this competitive nature and are taller than her and make more money. But somehow she says they don't fall under the purview of toxically masculine, even though all that's necessary for that is for this idea of the word extreme to become the word harm. And if it's the case that they're in intersex competition, men, there's going
And to be honest, right? If you say that, right, the only harm is the indicator, then how's Andrew Tate or Myron Gaines toxic masculinity? Who are they harming? Who are these men harming, right? If all you care about is the harm, right? The physical harm. Who's Andrew Tate? Who is Myron Gaines harming? Who are they harming? They literally aren't hitting nobody, right? Who are they harming? So this is the fallacy of a lot of women's arguments. Who are these men harming? If that's if your indicator is extreme, so these men aren't extreme, right?
Be harmed no matter what. And she just kind of accepts that as fine. That's no longer toxic. But interesting enough, how it becomes not toxic when the women become the beneficiary of the thing, huh? So ultimately, she didn't make any good case for toxic masculinity. She didn't make any good case for how it's bad. She didn't make any good case for actually anything here. And yeah, so there just wasn't much there. Yeah, Chatter points out toxic tautology, exactly. So yeah, I never heard a great case for toxic masculinity being bad. From your view, I pointed out how toxic masculinity is actually a very good thing, and I never got any refutations to that. So,
all right, Leslie, you got.
Well, I think that to ask me if English is my first language because I conflated a bunch of stuff and you didn't understand me, I think it's kind of ironic that you're asking me when you've basically been all over the place with your argument and you've actually flip-flopped on a lot of your definitions. So, or I think you tried to put words in my mouth that I never said. I did not say that all sports needs to be banned. I did not say that I'm as a man, as a woman, I'm only attracted to men with all money. And you try to, you are.
He didn't say you attracted men to money, right? You're attracted to hyper masculine men, right? Usually men are taller than you, stronger than you, most likely make more than you, either equal to more than you, right? Those are hyperly masculine men, right? Men that maybe are athletic in physique.
Trying to make me conflate masculinity with toxic masculinity. There's nothing wrong, as I said.
But the thing is, like, then how can you, it's like, the problem with her definition, right, is the extreme. Okay, the harm aspect. That means people like Andrew Tate and Myron Gaines, they don't exemplify toxic masculinity then. Because who are these men harming? Who are these men harming? They're not beating up women. These men aren't beating up women. So what is the extreme in that?
Said before, as with masculinity, what I did was point out several reasons as to why toxic masculinity is a problem. I gave you the definition of masculinity, I gave you the definition of toxic, and I gave you the definition of toxic masculinity. I equated that to economic impact, and there's enormous economic impact that the snowball effect of toxic masculinity can have in societies. I gave you 5 societal impacts of toxic masculinity, which is the assertion that women are inferior. It is reports and studies that point to less satisfaction and.
Here's my thing where women are inferior, right? This is the problem with a lot of women, where men are not out and out saying women are inferior. But when you think about it on the direct term, where women are not the ones to build society, women choose men that are taller than them, stronger than them, usually smarter than them, make more money than them. Literally, you're choosing your superior. You're not choosing your equal or your inferior. You're choosing your superior. So it's, when you look at it subjectively, well, yeah, you're inferior because you're choosing someone that is superior than you. You're not choosing your equal. You're not choosing someone's below you. So yes, it's like it's throughout women's own actions.
Health and poor health outcomes in countries where toxic masculinity is embedded in the cultures. I told you about.
It's very conflating, right? To say that, let's say hypothetically, the Middle East, it's toxic masculinity. No, it's poor management. It's stupid people, right? Uneducated people, leading uneducated people. What have the Middle East produced? What has Afghanistan, all these places, what have they done? Not because they're not failing because of toxic masculinity. They're failing because of, honestly, stupidity.
Another societal impact where elements of toxic masculinity are implicated in higher male suicide rates. I gave you several examples of crime.
See, that's weakness, right? It's like, okay, you said toxic masculinity equates to high level of male self-deletion rate. Okay, then how do you explain women's higher attempt of self-deletion rate? Are they experiencing toxic masculinity too? Are women experiencing toxic masculinity too? You cannot equate an act to masculinity, yet when the other gender do the same act, just don't get the same results, but they do the same act as not toxic masculinity. So logically, it's not equated to gender, right? It's not equated to gender. It's not about your gender that makes you depressed. It's your fucking life.
And violence, and the fact that there is a report that exists that literally connects, again, the male propensity to connect, to commit violence and criminal activity. There are connections made between that and toxic masculinity.
How's that stupid, right? Again, I've debunked this viewpoint that women have so many times. You can say 90% of violence is committed by men. I agree. You can't say that 90% of men commit violence. They don't. Only about 1% of men commit the actual violent crime. Only about 1% of men commit violent crime. And also, studies have shown that violent crime is actually decreasing, right? over time, violent crime is decreasing. So literally, a small percent of men actually do violent crime, and that violent crime stat is decreasing. So you can't say, right, there's toxic masculinity when honestly, very few men do it, right? So you're so fixated on like small percent of men. And second, it's actually going down. So really, it's like, how can you equate toxic masculinity? How can you equate that? Plus, so you're saying that if women are violent, that's not masculinity, that's not toxic masculinity. There's some studies that show that 70% of one-way domestic violence is committed by women against men. Lesbian relationships have the highest amount of domestic violence. Lesbian relationships, right? Lesbian relationships, heterosexual relationships, gay relationships have the least, right? While lesbian relationship has the most. I mean, it's like, what about it is like, so are lesbians experiencing toxic masculinity? Maybe it's not a gender thing, right? Maybe it's like a fucking mental thing.
Are published reports that speak to that connection. So this is not just my opinion. These are resources out there where you can get this information for yourself.
You got to study these things, right? You got to really get into it, right? One, you got to get into the pool of, people they study, right? It's like a lot of these studies, they study like 100 people or a couple hundred, right?
I spoke about the societal impact of the manosphere, where misogyny is conflated with masculinity, and this is all part of toxic masculinity. So I have pointed.
You literally not talk about anyone in the manosphere hating women, which I really think that if I was in Andrew's position, I would have gone for that one more, right? I would have digged her on the manosphere things. Like, where's the hate of women? Where's the hate of women in the manosphere?
Out several reasons as to why it is a problem. I don't know where you pointed out that it isn't a problem, because you're saying that your version of toxic masculinity is supposed to fix what toxic masculinity is, but you don't even think toxic masculinity exists. So I'm not sure how you took a position on something that you don't even think.
You're so fucking stupid. He was using your logic against you. That is it. He doesn't agree to the toxicity part. That's it.
Exists. That's not a problem. If we're going to talk about how the English language works and confusion.
Thank you, Leslie, for your closing statement. We're going to get into the super chats now, guys. Alexander Medeiros, I believe that's Wi-Fi Gospel. Hello, Alex. Since 5, he says, Andrew is the epitome of toxic masculinity. He smokes, he drinks, he takes all his wife's money and abandons his son Tyrone. Disgusting. 2 says, Bryshap is a lion crying distract. Turds Ferguson would say, I guess. Let's get 1313 Maryland. Jesus considered men and women equal.
Whew. Yeah. What do you guys think? Thank you guys for all being here, right? Thank you guys for all being here.
I pay my bills and I drive my car.
Guys,
Don't need permission
that is it for
to
tonight,
be a
right? That is it for
star.
tonight.
Late
I
nights,
started earlier,
bright neon
so I'm gonna finish
lights.
earlier.
Choose my days
I usually
and
finish around
all
10:30,
nights.
but I'll be finishing earlier today.
Still came back with fire inside. Every
Song
scar
by
became
Evil Eddie.
gold on skin.
Amazing,
He said I'd lose,
amazing
but I still
creator
win.
music.
No chains on me, no apologies. Watch me rise, watch me breathe. I'm a strong woman.
Thank you guys for being
Hear
here.
my voice. I make my future. I make my choice.
I love you guys, right? You guys are amazing. Please subscribe if you guys haven't. Please check out my other videos if you could. Please comment on them. That would be helpful. Please like. But yeah, I love you guys. Again, YouTube demonetized me because they didn't like some of the videos that I uploaded. So if you guys want to support, please support me, but you don't have to, right? You don't have to. Some people who usually do support me, so I just want to say this is how you could. But yeah, I do live streams every Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, right? Live streams every Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. I do live stream sometimes other days as well. So please subscribe. Please have notifications on. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you, Wolves. I thank you for being here. I always love amazing, smart-ass woman being here. I love it. Evil Eddie, I love you. Brent, Red Door, Big Bars, I love you. Laughing Man, Steve, I love you. Guys, I love seeing you guys. I'm glad that you guys are okay. I definitely want to see you guys' future projects, right? Your books, your new YouTube stuff. I love it. I love it. When you guys have it, promote it in the chat, right? I don't mind you guys promoting in the chat. It's awesome. PBD, I love you. I hope your game is going to go well. I definitely want to check it out. Hope your health is going well as well. I love you. Anyone else? Omni, love you, my brother. Ivan, thank you for being here. I love you. I love you. Anyone else? Real Rain, thank you for being here, my brother. I love you. Self-made Black was here. I love you. You guys are amazing. But yeah, you guys are amazing. I love you. Please check out my other videos. You're gonna. That's a great song. That's not a bad. That's not a bad woman song. Now, I love this song. This is my favorite. This is my favorite new song you have, right?
You know what I'm saying? She doing the thing, that thing, 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 thing. You can't walk a mile.
Definitely. I know there's a lot of normal women. I know so many smart-ass women. I like my sister, right? Amazing woman. I usually go to her for, you know, some advice or, you know, when I talk things out. So I know so many smart-ass women, right? That's why I've never said all women. I know so many amazing women out there. Plenty of, I mean, Red Door is another woman. She fights against feminism. Too many women. There are so many women that are amazing out there, right? So many women are amazing. I think a lot of them are they follow me. What can I say? What can I say? Right? Smart women knows, you know, they know, you know, they know logic when they see it.
That thing, thing, that thing, thing, that thing, thing, that thing, thing. You can't walk a mile in these Louboutins. Can't take her home to mom. No, she don't belong. All she needs is a dog. Getting this bone. Let me find out that thing, thing. That thing, thing. That thing, thing. That thing, thing. Let me find out that thing, thing. That thing, thing. That thing, thing. That thing, thing. Let me find out that thing, thing. That thing, thing.
I love you guys. Thank you guys for all the support.
Let me find out that thing, thing.
It's not a problem. Hell, I mean, producers are important, right? You're pretty much a producer. You're pretty much a producer, so they're important as well, right?
You know what I'm saying? She doing a thing, that thing, thing.
All right, guys, check out my, check out my shit. I love you.